You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB. Breaking down the Hail Marys and the epic fails. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, News Talk ZB.
11:13. Welcome into an elongated edition of Weekend Sport on News Talk ZB. Jason Pine, Annie McDonald here until 3 o'clock. Let's get you back, though, to our lead commentator and rugby editor, Elliot Smith, before he has to shoot off for post-match duties. Elliot, 30-29. Was this an opportunity lost for the All Blacks?
Well, I'm going to let Scott Robertson answer that with our host broadcaster, Pine. I'll come back to you in a moment.
Point is, probably didn't get off our back fence as well as we could. And they kicked all their goals. They've got the smells we're talking about, got their tails up.
Yeah, I mean, the first half was good, though, right? You know, you finding a way through their defence, forwards, backs connected. They didn't know who to hit in that first half.
Played some incredible rugby, you know. Like, I was really pleased. A lot of our efforts and energy, just the accuracy to finish, just to create and finish. And, you know, whenever we take kick-off and we couldn't get that right. But I'm really proud. I'm really proud of the way we played. We're disappointed, as you can imagine. You know, we wanted to go all the way this tour.
Yeah, the second half, the start of the second half, you could kind of see that kind of shift in momentum.
Bit of pass to go to hand, we score, they score, and then whoa, and then the crowd come alive.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, consistency in results and performance is something that maybe you lacked a little bit in the Rugby Championship, but 2 wins coming into this. How would you sum up this tour so far with one to go?
Oh, you talk about a point and everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, look, to sum it up, we're playing good footy. The care's there. There's just a little bit of discipline, a couple more rucks, and we're talking about a different story. Look, we've had a great tour. Which was just a little bit greater.
Well, unlucky tonight, Scott. Appreciate your time.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right,
sorry, Piney, I thought it was better to hear from Scott Robertson than myself.
No. Well, while we've got you here, and I know you've got to get away shortly. Scott Robertson talked about, disappointed but proud. But they would have loved to have won the game. They could have won the game.
They could have won the game, absolutely. And it was just a couple of momentum shifts. And once they'd opened the door for the French, it was very hard for the All Blacks to close it again. France got their noses in front. They like playing from in front. They can direct things. The crowd gets in behind them here at Stade de France as well. And that changed the momentum of the game. And to be honest, the All Blacks were the better team in the first spell and maybe didn't have the rewards for it. They got the French scored late in the first spell, made it 17-10. And then came out after half-time and bang, bang. And the All Blacks, instead of directing the game themselves, had to begin chasing it. They decided to go up in threes, maybe later on in the game. Perhaps took a 3 too many rather than trying to force the issue and go for 5 or 7 points. But it was a game of momentum swings. And once the All Blacks lost the momentum, it felt like they were chasing it and trying to reel it in.
Thank you for your summary, Elliot. You've got places to be. We'll look forward to your post-match audio coming through. Elliot Smith, our rugby editor and lead commentator, joining us from Stade de France, where if you're just joining us, this has just happened.
Jordan has to take the tackle. He's held up off the deck. This could be it. Needs to get the knees to ground, Will. France swallow him up. That'll be it. The arm goes out for France. The arm goes out for France. That is full time. And France do it again over the All Blacks by 1 point, 30-29.
There you go, 30 points to 29 on the penultimate night of this All Blacks end of season tour. I'm Jason Pine, 11:17. Normally we wouldn't be on the air until after midday. For those of you tuning in and expecting to hear the Sunday session, we've given Francesca the morning off, although she did cover Jack yesterday, and have given you the opportunity to straight away give us your reaction to what you heard or saw play out at Stade de France this morning. Going to open the lines immediately. 0800 80 10 80. Your thoughts are very welcome. You might want to get them done nice and early. Normally, as I say, you'd have to wait until after midday to have your say. Not today. We can take your calls immediately. 0800 80 10 80. Anything that stood out to you, anything you want to make mention of. We'll delve into this with assistant coach Jason Holland when he becomes available. Also, after midday, Brad Shields, former England international, is set to join us. We'll have a chat to him. But your thoughts are the ones I'm really after. How do you assess it? What stands out when you think back? And it's only just finished. So while it's fresh in your mind, hop on the phone. Grant, it's fresh in your mind. What's standing out?
Boo-hoo, boo-hoo. That's what I'll say first. But I think some very hard questions need to be asked about whose decision it was, whether it was the captain, was it the coach telling the water boy, kick a goal right from the end. 5 minutes to go. I mean, how many times in games this year have they actually turned down, with much more time to go, turned down penalties and gone for the try? 5 minutes to go, you're 5 points behind. Why didn't they go for the line out? Okay, they might not have scored from the line out, but surely, in my opinion, they should have gone for the line out. What do you reckon?
Well, I think they were going up in threes okay. If you're talking about the very last one, they were behind by 30 points to 26, got the penalty with 5.5 to go. Yeah, at that point, Grant, I sort of side with you in that we had a bit of momentum. We were starting to, look at a French side that was tiring. I guess if you kick it and you're 30-29 with 5 minutes to go, you know that any score in your favour, a penalty, a drop goal, whatever in the last 5 minutes gives you victory. If it had been 30-26 and they'd gone for the line, missed and for whatever reason not scored the try, then a 4-point gap is a very different story from a 1-point gap. But I get what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying.
I am talking just about that last kick. And the thing is, okay, the kick went over, but with, 5 minutes to go, you got to get back there. And so I do think that was an incorrect technical decision. No guarantee they would have scored, but, a close loss is better than a big loss, but I wish we would have won. Well, there you go.
Exactly right. Look, in exactly what Scott Robertson just said as we heard his audio there as we were chatting to Elliot Smith, said we had a really good end of season 2. We just wish it could have been just a touch better. And look, a win tonight, and I said this yesterday, we're looking now at a record across the season of, 4 losses now. We had the loss to Argentina, the 2 in South Africa, and now this one against France. So 4 from 13, which will become 4 from 14 next week, all things being equal if the All Blacks win against Italy in Turin. It's only one defeat, but it makes a huge difference, doesn't it? 11-3, just, when you were 4-3, just sounds so much better, doesn't it? The fact that the All Blacks were in a position to win 7 straight tests from the Australian 2 through Japan, England, Ireland, France and Italy. That now is not going to be a reality. But how do you assess it? 0800 80 10 80. Grant makes an interesting point about taking the points or putting the foot on the throat. And look, I don't know that there is any right answer to that. Damien McKenzie came on, and what did he kick? 4 penalties in the second half? New Zealand not able to get across the chalk. I think the big turning point in the game was the first French try after halftime. The second one. I'm sorry, my apologies, the second one. France scored a try from a line-out drive, 17 all, and then New Zealand's on attack, and just an errant pass. If the ball had gone to hand, Will Jordan's off, and we all know how dangerous he is in situations like that. Instead, the ball goes to ground, it's kicked ahead by France, and they sprint down the other end and score. And all of a sudden, it's one of those where, it's a 14-point play. A converted try for New Zealand turns into a converted try for France, and instead of us being 24-17 ahead, they're 24-17 ahead. I thought it was an interesting move to bring Cam Roygaard off after 5 minutes in the second half. I thought he had a really good first half. Played in a way that was in contrast to last week, and it was the Irish tactic, of course, but the way that they monstered us in the collision areas last week, the Irish, and the way that was tidied up this time around, I think largely through the robustness of Cam Roygaard, was really, really interesting. I thought he had a very good first half. Scored the try, that little kind of strip/intercept, scored a try. And then, with 5 minutes gone in the second half, he was withdrawn. I thought that was early for Cam Roygaard to go off. 0800 80 10 80. Your thoughts are welcome. 9292 on text. Lots on text. If you've listened to the show for a while, you'll know that the phones tend to get fairly busy when we regularly start at midday. So if you want to make your point now, it's a good chance to do it. 0800 80 10 80 11 23. Here at News Talk ZB, we're back right after this.
Hey, I'm Matt Watson, and I went to New A as a visitor, and I left as a friend. And it's the same for everyone. It's warm, safe, there's no traffic, so you can just relax or have an adventure, exploring the incredible walks, swimming with whales and dolphins in the clearest water in the Pacific. And the fishing's pretty good too. New A really is the way life used to be, the way life should be. Check out newaisland.com or see your travel agent and get yourself to New A.
It's more than just a game. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine and GJ Gardner-Holmes, New Zealand's most trusted home builder. News Talk ZB.
On his left-hand side, Williams out the back for Jordan. Jordan for Lakai. Ball left-hand side, Cato Clark. Clark into the 22. Adi Savia cuts back in field. Bumps up 1, 2, 3. Finds Peter Lakai. All Blacks are over. Peter Lakai. Been on the park for 6 minutes. Makes the All Blacks first try.
Yeah, that was Peter Lakai scoring after a run of incredible proportions by Adi Savia. That's probably the wrong terminology. I kind of run out of adjectives for Adi Savia. Just even at the end when he sprinted back and outran, well, most of his own teammates and all of the French players in the 78th, 79th minute, chasing back to stop what would have been certainly a red-hot French opportunity. He's just unreal. And the way he bumped off 3 or 4 players there and set it up for Peter Lakai early in the game, you know, I know he was wearing the 7 on his back, but he didn't get the chance to play on the open side, did he? Because with Summer Penny Finau going off after what? It was less than 2 minutes into the game. We'll find out exactly what that was. Adi Savia basically went to the back of the scrum again, and Satiti over to blind side and Lakai to open side. So we didn't actually get to see Adi Savia play, in theory, at open side flanker, but what a performance from him. What an incredible player he is. And just impossible to find too many superlatives, really. Christopher, we had a chat to you yesterday about some cricket. You got some thoughts on rugby today, mate?
Yes, yeah, just on that All Blacks game. I mean, as you already know, I'm Aussie, so I'm waiting for tomorrow morning's game for us in Cardiff.
Yep.
But, well, that was quite the game from both sides, wasn't it? I mean, if I have to be honest, All Blacks easily owned the French in the first half, and then French Le Bleu came back in the second and dominated for a bit. But I got to say, like one of the other callers, I can't remember who it was, but I did question very heavily their decision to continue going for threes. I mean, they had a few where I thought if they got the line out right, they could have probably mauled it in and maybe scored a try or two. So I was questioning the last 2 penalties at the end especially. The first 2 were, yeah, understandable, want to get within 4, but the second 2, I mean, I would have rather them have a crack at the French line and try to score, and who knows, if they can't score, maybe they get another penalty or something to just hammer that 3 in. But yeah, I thought it was a good game, but I questioned quite a lot of their penalty shots.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a major talking point, Christopher. And I look at the timeline here, and yeah, McKenzie kicked a penalty in the 62nd minute to make it 27-23. And I think we'd probably both agree that, you know, with 18 minutes to go, yeah, you reduce the gap to 4. Then the last 2 were at 27-23 ahead with 12 minutes to go. That brings it to 27-26. Then France kicked a penalty. I think it's the one in the 75th minute that most people will talk about, including you, where at 30-26, maybe it's then with 5 minutes to go, you say, right, let's get a foot on the throat here, kick for the line, try and get a rolling maul going and assert some dominance over what, I don't know what you thought, but I thought France looked a bit tired near the end.
Yes, they definitely did look a little bit tired. I mean, yeah, they just seemed like they'd gone a little bit too hard for that first 30 minutes of the second half and tried to rip the All Blacks, like, the game away from them, and in a way had kind of succeeded, but didn't quite do it as convincingly. Like, they would have probably preferred to get it to 10 points or more. But yeah, that's the one I'm really questioning. I mean, I was sitting there watching it on TV, and I was just thinking, Damien, what are you doing? Like, why are you kicking it? Why are you kicking the pen? Like, why? Kick it to 5 out and then do a line out. Like, come on.
Yeah, and as you know, Christopher, he wouldn't have made the decision himself. He'd be told by Scott Barrett or whoever it was. I think on our radio commentary, there was even the suggestion that call came from up in the box. That, you know, the calls, you know, because, you know, obviously got comms down to the sideline and whoever's down on the sideline can get the message out that they were, you know, saying, hey, take the three. And look, if they'd got a penalty near the end and kicked it for 32-30, we'd be having a different conversation, wouldn't we? And now, while I've got you, tomorrow morning, surely you'll beat Wales. They're terrible.
Low key, yeah, I hope so, but I mean, as you know, Wales has turned out to be Aussie's bogey team in the last few years. I mean, we were all thinking, oh, yep, surely Wallabies under Eddie Jones in the World Cup will beat them, surely, and then they come out and bloody flog us 40-6. So who knows? I mean, we might beat them, but I mean, Cardiff playing the European teams in Europe, anything can happen, no matter how good the team is. I mean, we've seen it now. I mean, New Zealand lost to France. They've lost to England and Ireland before in Europe. So, yeah, anything can happen, but I would back them to win considering Wales have only won like 1 or 2 tests this entire year.
Yeah, no, they haven't been going very well. Look, I think most Kiwis will be on your side. Christopher, I can say that, I think, with a degree of confidence. Good to chat to you again, mate. Thanks for calling in. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes, yous too, and up the Aussies.
Up the Aussies. I can't believe I'm saying it, but up the Aussies. Good on you, Christopher. Great to chat to you again, mate. Andy, what were your main takeaways from this morning?
Oh, I just wonder whether Will Jordan had a little injury, because normally he'd back himself to be able to score that try, and he kicked it instead to chase the ball.
Oh, yes, near the end. Yeah, I do.
Near the end. Yeah, I thought, you know, normally he would go for it, but yeah, I think he might have been a bit tired. But look, I tell you what, a halfback needs to move the ball a lot quicker than Ratama was doing. I wasn't happy about the way he played. I thought he was a bit laborious in the last game against Ireland, and again in this one. He's too slow. You know, we really missed that sort of an Aaron Smith sort of quick ball out and gone. But he hangs on to it for a half a second, which is a half a second too long in my book. And he was warned, I don't know how many times, move the ball, and that led to a try, and that was that. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm not sure why they brought off Roygaard. I thought he was playing a fantastic game, unless he was injured, of course. But I haven't seen anything and you're right. We need to check that before we make assumptions about it. He may have picked up a knock. It's so interesting with Ratama, Andy, because when he first came into the team in those that first I think it was the second test against England up at Eden Park, his speed from the base of the ruck was one of the things that caught the eye. And in fact, for the Chiefs as well, that's one of his strengths, one of his superpowers. And so I don't know why he's not doing it as quickly. I mean, obviously he might not get as much time. I know Ireland last week really made it hard for him. France less so today. But yeah, the speed from the base of the ruck is certainly a talking point. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and you know the way the All Blacks play, we like fast ball. You know, that's our game plan. And the referee, boy, there's some dubious decisions. And I'm not being, you know, a sore loser or anything, but, you know, getting the third umpire involved with a head rolling that wasn't a head rolling, I mean, these are really major decisions. And I think Jeff Wilson said it was a pivotal time of the game when there were 3 points. And, yeah, I don't know. I just wonder about those sort of things. But anyway, great game. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I was sad for the All Blacks, but, you know, at least, no, there's no at least. We lost.
Good man. Yeah, well, at least you got the rest of the day, mate. At least you got the rest of the day. And I'm not sure where you're calling from, but I hope it's a nice day. You sound like you're out driving, heading to your next point of business, so I'll let you go. Appreciate you calling in. 0800 80 1080 is our number. Sorry, just say that again, Andy. All right, thank you very much indeed. I just got some comms from producer Andy, 26 to midday. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have assistant coach of the All Blacks, Jason Holland, on for a chat. News Talk ZB and an elongated weekend sport, 23 away from midday. Let's get you back to Paris, where All Blacks assistant coach Jason Holland is standing by to chat to us. Jason, thanks for taking our call 35 minutes or so after the final whistle. What's your initial assessment of the 80 minutes?
Oh, hey, Piney. Yeah, obviously pretty gutted around not quite getting the job done, but at the same time pretty proud of some of the effort the boys put in, and a couple of key moments and things are different, so that's really disappointing. But we played some good footy at times, and some of the effort was something to be proud of, I think.
What were the key moments for you that had the biggest impact on the game?
Oh, there was just a couple of things where we didn't quite finish off, multi-phase. We had 3 or 4, 3 or 4 and 5 and 6 phases, and then we couldn't quite get over the line. And 7 points would have made a lot of difference in that second half with, spill a pass or not quite get delivery right or line out, or those sort of little things at the back end of the game was massive. So, yeah, obviously the French came out after half time and were really accurate. Scored a couple of tries and put us under pressure and nailed their big moments, and we couldn't quite do it near the end.
Did you feel like you should have been ahead by more at half time?
Yeah, probably. We got those 2 tries in the first half, and could easily have scored one more maybe if we'd have held on to the ball a little bit longer. So yeah, in fairness to the French, they hung in, and we ran them around, and we wanted to make sure their tight 5 had to work really hard defensively, and we did. I think we put some really good phases of play together and made them really go to the well around getting up and defending, and they did it pretty well. But one more pass a couple of times and hold on to the ball one or 2 more phases. But that's the game, isn't it?
It is. You were behind last week and the week before that, won both of those games. So did you have comfort that even when France went ahead with about half an hour to go, you were still going to be okay to get back in the game?
Yeah, mate, we've got a good. There's a pretty experienced and smart leadership group out there. So even when we went in, we shipped 2 tries early in that second half. We knew the boys just went back to what we knew and chipped away and knew that we just had to be nice and accurate. So we've made some real strides around that with their leadership and our understanding of how to win games, I think. But obviously, we couldn't quite get it done this week like we have in the last couple of weeks.
Hindsight's always a wonderful thing, I know, but can you talk us through the decision to take the 3 points in the 75th minute when you were 4 points behind?
Yeah, look, I think, it's a 50-50 one, isn't it? It's one where you just you back the boys out there. I think the mindset was once we get possession, we've been building pressure and the French are infringing, so going within a penalty to win it in the 79th was the mindset around what we went to. It's probably one we'll have a look at, but I think it's probably a 50-50 and you back the boys on the field to get a feel for how they think they're going to win the game.
So that decision comes from the on-field leadership team that doesn't get sent down from the box?
Well, there's a couple of things that go down, but sometimes you don't get things down in time, and sometimes you just back the boys. And I know Ray's is massive on trusting the boys out there. So last week we took those points and it sort of probably won the game for us. So it's a bit of a feel thing from week to week, I think.
A lot of people are asking about the decision to replace Cam Roigard so early in the second half. Can you give us the analysis on that? Oh, look,
she was a quick game out there, and the Nines are covering some massive meters, and we know what Cortez can give us. He can come on and speed the game up and give that little bit. Cam was good, and 50 whatever it was, 52 or 53 minutes in, Nines are. A new 9 is a real freshener for the team. So, that's the mindset there.
It just seemed that there was a lot more robustness at the base of the ruck compared to last week, and it felt like Cam Roigard was really providing that. Was that a specific work on this week that to be a bit more robust at the collision and the base of the ruck?
Oh, I think that was across the board. We knew that the French are going to be, the probably most physical team we play on this tour, and the way we had to stop them around the breakdown, we couldn't let them come through, and then when we had the ball, we had to be a threat. And we know that Cam's, all 3 of our 9s can be nice and dynamic and robust around there. So it was a big part of the game, to be honest, how the French took us on around the ruck and created a couple of tries from it.
You monstered their scrum. Do you feel like you should have had more scrum penalties?
Yeah. Look, mate, you're probably asking the wrong man here, but the feeling I got was that the other Jason would have been looking for a couple of penalties. But it was good. It was awesome stint from that type 5 there, especially in the first half. And I think they were hanging on by a thread. But in fairness, they gutsed it out a lot. But it would have been nice to play off a couple of advantages that we think maybe we should have had.
Peter Larkai came on very early, very, very early. You were his first Hurricanes coach. How have you assessed his step up to Test rugby?
Yeah, mate, it'd be interesting to watch the video, but he looked like he smashed it out there. Some of his carry, some of his work around the collisions against a massive French pack was impressive, and sort of, I think a lot of people knew that Pete's going to be a long time international rugby player, and he probably showed that all the potential there that's already there, and that he's nailing stuff. So thought he had a really good game, and that'll stand to him as confidence, and he can be really happy with what he did.
I feel like I'm running out of adjectives for Artie Savia, even though he didn't actually play open side. How did he treat his week with a different number on his back, a different role to play?
Oh, mate, they're boys that, they just get about their different role and just the way they go. Artie's been playing a bit like a 7, and, between Artie being the real mentor, for the boys like Samapeni, for Wally, for Pete around him, he really thrives on that, and then making sure that, the 4 of them plus the other boys that don't get a run are really tight during the week and helping each other understand exactly how they're going to play. So she's no... water off a duck's back for hours about whether he's playing 7 or 8. He just prepares, gets the week right, and helps the boys around him. So, you're right with superlatives. He was created a lot, didn't he? Created the first try, some of his carry, and work around the breakdowns, phenomenal.
We saw Geordie Barrett leave the field in the first half. Can you tell us what the issue was there?
I haven't had the official, but I just know he's hanging on. He's hoping there's nothing too much wrong. It's his knee, the other knee his other knee. So hopefully that's only a short term, a couple of weeks. But we'll know about that when we get scans on that tomorrow. But he's a little bit sore today, so this evening. So we'll see how we go.
All right, and just to finish, a lot of players have had big workloads these last 3 weekends. I think 10 players have started all 3 of these 3 big test matches. Lots of others have had 3 test weeks in a row. Are we likely to see a few other players get opportunities next week in Turin?
I think we'll pick the best team for Italy. But you've sort of touched on something that maybe we've considered, that it's been a massive 3 weeks, and boys have worked hard during the 3 weeks, and like everybody has. But we just got to figure out exactly what the best team and where everyone's at to make sure that we can play really well against Italy, because we'll need to put them away. So it'll be see what happens Sunday and Monday probably, to see where everybody's at. But you're right, people have had a big workload, and there's definitely going to need to be a bit of a freshen up in a couple of spots.
Safe travels, Jace. Thanks for joining us as always.
Thanks, Piney. Thanks, mate.
All the best, mate. That's Jason Holland, assistant coach of the All Blacks, joining us with his thoughts and some interesting ones there too. 0800 80 10 80. We're going to keep the lines open. We'll get a quick breakaway. David, please hold there. Keen to chat to you. Back after this on an elongated weekend sport.
The tough questions off the turf. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine and GJ Gardner-Holmes. New Zealand's most trusted home builder. News Talk ZB.
12 away from 12 on Weekend Sport. David, thanks for holding, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, Pine. You sort of asked all the questions that I wanted to ask the coach there. So. But I still I only listened to the first half on the radio, then I couldn't get reception. But I still, even the commentator was saying about we should have had probably at least another 3 scrum penalties, because apparently just absolutely demolished the scrum. And also that about 4 minutes before half time, while we took the kick and goal, and why not go for the line out and try and get a 7-pointer,
Yeah, I was listening as well, David. I kind of synced it up to the television. I always enjoy listening to Elliot and Gregor in particular, who knows a lot about scrums and scrum penalties. So you were probably hearing the same thing I was, and I could see it on the screen as well. We were just monstering them every time. Tamati Williams had a mighty game in the front row, I just don't know that we got as much, and I never want to blame referees, and it's not the reason that the game ended the way it did with a 1-point defeat. But yeah, I reckon he, I just think he didn't want to give a scrum at every penalty. But if that's what's happening, then you got to do it.
Yeah, I also like to thank I think we might have been out-coached as well, to be fair, especially with our replacements and that.
Yeah, you mean in terms of when we put the subs on, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I thought, from what I can gather and from what I've heard, like, Roygaard come off way too early, and for him to, in the first half, completely outplay the number one halfback in the world, I thought it was a hell of an effort by him.
Yeah, I thought it was I thought when I saw that happen, which, and I made a note of it, it was at the 50-minute mark. So when Roygaard came off with 30 minutes to go, I thought that was a very odd decision, and we just heard Jason Holland's rationale for it. They thought they got would get more freshness out of Cortez Latama, and look, they live and die by their decisions as far as the scoreboard's concerned, and maybe they'll reflect back on that, like they will the decision to take the points near the end rather than kick for the line, and they'll examine those decisions and say, okay, well, what can we learn? Did we do the right thing?
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for the chance, buddy.
Good on you, David. Good to chat to you, mate. Thanks for holding on. Drive safe. 10 to 12, News Talk ZB. Back after this.
The biggest names in sport are on Weekend Sport with Jason Pine and GJ Gardner-Holmes. New Zealand's most trusted home builder, News Talk ZB.
Good ball. Feeds. Now the All Blacks try to surge forward again. They've disrupted the scrum. It's been intercepted with Cam Roygaard. Roygaard's away. How did he do that? Magician! Cam Roygaard, the try!
Yeah, amazing try by Cam Roygaard. I think that's one of the two major talking points out of this game, and Jason Holland answered both the questions. We'll play those responses again after midday. Taking Cam Roygaard off so early and taking the points near the end, when perhaps the time on the clock and the score on the board, jeepers, hindsight's a wonderful thing. The penalty in the 75th minute, which brought it back to 30-29, and as Jason Holland said, then you're basically 1 point short with, if you get to the 79th minute and you can apply pressure and force a penalty, then, you're in a position to kick a winning goal. If you're 4 points behind, you're not in that position. So, yeah, I think, we can debate and discuss that after midday, which we certainly will. Let's get a few texts away before we hit the news. Entertaining game, Piney, says Ellen. Have to say the French were the better side. We couldn't stop what we knew was coming. Bear in mind there are a few young players in that French team as well. Thanks, Ellen. Piney, over the 3 games, probably a fair result, having won 2 of the 3. A thickness of the post saved the All Blacks against England, and today they lost by a tiny margin. It just shows there's not too much between the top teams in the world. Correct. Why was Roygaard taken off? I don't understand that at all. Nothing against Latama, but it was a bit early. Yeah, I tend to agree. I just thought he was so good in the first half in addressing something which was a big issue last week. You think back to last week when, in the first half in particular, Ireland was so vigorous in the first half at trying to disrupt New Zealand's ball at the base of the ruck, the way they hit the collisions, the way they, went right up to the line into the letter of the law, coming around and really putting pressure on Cortez Latama as he tried to clear the ball. Cam Roygaard didn't seem to have any issues with that today. He's a bit more of a robust guy, a bit more physical, but bigger physically. But it's always been a strength of his. But he doesn't seem to have any trouble also, when he's not under pressure, clearing quickly from the base. It seems as though that's a hallmark of Cortez Latama. It's been talked about all year that he is as close to Aaron Smith as anybody in New Zealand in that regard, in the opinion of a lot of people. But today there was just, I don't know, maybe the smoothness from his pass wasn't quite there for whatever reason. And he didn't go on with half an hour to go, with any other intent than clearing quickly from the base. It just, for whatever reason, didn't happen for Cortez Latama today, and it brings into sharp focus why Cam Roygaard was taken off. Anyway, that's one of the talking points. The other one is the points at the end, and again, Jason Holland addressed that, as I say. Stephen says, Piney, the decisions made in the last 15 minutes to kick for goal probably reflected a lack of belief in our line-out. It's been niggling away in the background for a while now. See, I'm not sure I subscribe to that necessarily, Stephen, because last week I don't think we we lost one line out, didn't we? We lost one line out, which was that one that wasn't thrown in straight when the Irish didn't contest. I'm just bringing up the stats here today. We lost one line out today. One. Just the one again. So across 2 test matches, we've lost one line out. So I don't subscribe to that. We won 10 today. So, yeah, I'm not sure that was the reason. I'm almost positive the reason was exactly what Jason Holland said, that they thought to themselves, if we can get within 1 point with 4 or 5 minutes on the clock, get down that end again, create some pressure, then any score wins us the game. In hindsight, would they have done it differently? Probably, because they lost today. But they wouldn't at the time. I think it was a decision based on some fairly sound logic. Yes, it was late in the game. Yes, at some point you have to say to yourself, okay, we're this far on in the game now that we have to start thinking about, going for fives. Anyway, news at midday. Then we're back with Weekend Sport.
The only place for the big names, the big issues, the big controversies, and the big conversations. It's all on Weekend Sport with Jason Pine on your home of sport. News Talk ZB.
Kia ora, good afternoon. Welcome in, or welcome back to Weekend Sport on News Talk ZB. We've been here for about 45 minutes. But if you're just joining us, it's great to have you along. I'm Jason Pine, show producer Andy McDonald. We're here talking sport until 3.
Jordan has to take the tackle. He's held up off the deck. This could be it. Needs to get the knees to ground, Will. France swallow him up. That'll be it. The arm goes out for France. The arm goes out for France. That is full time. And France do it again over the All Blacks by 1 point. 30-29.
Yeah, big focus for the next couple of hours or so on the All Blacks France test. Former England international and Hurricanes captain Brad Shields along shortly with his analysis. We'll hear some post-match thoughts from inside the All Blacks camp as well. They're currently going through their post-match media. Elliot Smith is feverishly beavering away in the bowels of Stade de France, no doubt. He'll send that audio back to us. We'll get some post-match thoughts. We already heard from Jason Holland before midday. He made a couple of interesting points to a couple of the big talking points from this game. For me anyway, the decision to replace Cam Roygaard so early in the second half and the decision to kick for goal with 5 minutes to go and a 4-point deficit. You'll have some thoughts on that, no doubt, as well. Your views are actually what I'm really after this afternoon. You can make your point in all the usual ways. 0800 80 10 80. Lines open immediately. 9292 if you would prefer to correspond via text. Other matters around today after 2. Really looking forward to catching up with Finn Butcher. He provided us with one of the undoubted highlights of the year, his gold medal in the kayak cross at the Paris Olympic Games. With some time and space to reflect, we'll reminisce a bit with Finn Butcher after 2 o'clock. All Whites defender Michael Boxall's on the show as well. James McConey in his regular slot around 1:45. Quite a bit of live sport to keep an eye on this afternoon as well for you. Domestic women's cricket round 2 of the Halliburton-Johnston Shield 50 over competition. 3 matches to keep tabs on. Penultimate round action in men's and women's National League football. Bunch of NBA basketball games. Supercars in Adelaide as well. We'll make sure that you are updated on all of that. Please join us, though, with your thoughts at any time. 0800 80 10 80 remains our phone number. 9292 on text. And if you want to bash out some slightly more comprehensive thoughts, you can do that on an email. Jason at newstalkzb.co.nz is my email address. Coming up 10 past midday.
Analysing every view from every angle in the sporting world. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine. Call 0800 80 1080. News Talk ZB.
10 past midday, so All Blacks 29, France 30. Look, a good test match. I think if you're a neutral, it was a good test match. But one I think that the All Blacks will say perhaps got away from them. Some of the post-match thoughts we've heard of Ardie Savea and Scott Robertson, and we'll hear more as well. And I look at some of the phrases they used. Ardie Savea talked about some silly mistakes, some turnovers, needing to put the nail in the coffin. Similarly, Scott Robertson says we didn't get off our back fence well enough. Disappointed but proud. We're playing good footy, but I just wish we could have won that one. That's what Scott Robertson said in the post-match afterwards. More from him to come.
On his left-hand side, Williams out the back for Jordan. Jordan for Lakai. Ball left-hand side, Cato Clark. Clark into the 22. Arnie Savia cuts back in field. Bumps off 1, 2, 3. Finds Peter Lakai. All Blacks are over. Peter Lakai. Been on the park for 6 minutes. Makes the All Blacks first try.
Yeah, Peter Lakai had to come on in the second minute after Summer Penny Finau was forced off. Got a try off the off the back of a barnstorming run from Artie Savia. End of the day, though, France 30, All Blacks 29. Let's bring in former England international, hugely experienced Hurricanes and Wellington loose forward Brad Shields. Brad, thanks for joining us, mate. France 30, All Blacks 29. What was your overall assessment of what you saw from the All Blacks this morning?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Piney, and I suppose it's good afternoon now after midday, but yeah, it was a bloody good test match, I thought, and I don't think people definitely predicted the way the game was going to go, but I just think, the All Blacks sort of just maybe let themselves down a couple of times just with finishing off, and if they got a couple of things finished, man, it could have been a completely different story tonight.
Absolutely. So, I mean, when you go to analyse things like that, I mean, mistakes are going to happen in pressure moments, aren't they? There's nothing they could have done differently, apart from, as you say, maybe held onto the ball. But mistakes happen, don't they, in high pressure situations?
That's exactly it. And I guess the difference when you make a mistake is France toppled on it. That sort of one mistake from the All Blacks, and then the France end up scoring a try is, the worst possible outcome for a mistake, and sometimes that's the way it goes, and sometimes 50-50s, they don't go your way, and unfortunately tonight it didn't happen for the All Blacks. But yeah, like I said, it was a huge test match, and obviously being very biased, you played a little clip there from Peter Lakai scoring a try, and I was jumping out of my seat for him. It was massive occasion for him and his family, so it was cool to see him go on early.
Yeah, I've written down his name to ask you about. You've obviously had an up-close view of his development at Super Rugby level. What have you made of Peter Lakai from playing alongside him and watching him develop?
Yeah, I guess for me, he's just a guy that just rolls his sleeves up and does his work, and he's got a bit of X factor as well. And like you saw tonight, like he obviously scored a try early, but he didn't necessarily do anything, explosive, not explosive, like X factor sort of thing tonight, but he did his job really well. And you notice when you got the ball and carry, like the leg drive and willing to fight for another extra few metres, and some of his work off the ball, like I don't know if people watch certain players off the ball, but if you watch the way he works around the field, like he's just a relentless work rate, and that's exactly what you saw in the Hurricanes, and when he played for Wellington as well, like his ability to be where the ball is and how he scored his try is, if you watch him off the ball, he's just ready and ready to go.
I guess there's a spot opening up in the 7 jumper for the All Blacks. We know Sam Cane's leaving. Artie, look, he could play there obviously and started with a 7 on his back tonight, but might be number 8. Do you think Peter Lakai might have his nose in front even from this performance to perhaps get a crack at wearing 7 in the first few test matches of next year?
Oh, you'd like to think so, and I guess the biggest test for him, obviously, playing for the All Blacks is huge, but I do think for his future development, the biggest test for him would be back up another good Super Rugby season with another good season, and that's where you notice, I reckon, players who accelerate as they have back-to-back seasons that are real positive, because it's quite, I'm not saying it's easy, but, he's relatively fresh, relatively young, playing really good rugby. When teams start to figure out how they play and who's a big threat in the team, they'll start to target players like Pete. So for him to accelerate, I reckon his career, it'll be the Super Rugby season will be the difference for him to get a good shot at ABs as well.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I want to ask you, you've captained sides. The decision right near the end, or in the 75th minute, at 4 points down to take the shot at goal to close it up to 30-29. When you're a captain in a situation like that, where you've got an option, you can take the points, you can kick for the line and maybe try and get the 7-pointer. What sort of things factor into your decision-making at a time like that?
Well, I guess you straight away think about where the game's gone and how the game's gone, and if you think about the All Blacks attacking their line, like they struggle to score points, and in terms of they'd get really, really close and then they'd get turned over or a penalty or something like that. Like I think was a neck roll against, it might have been against the All Blacks maybe, but there's certain things you think about throughout the game, and you get to that point, you're like, well, what are we going to do? Are we going to back ourselves to get back down here? They look dominant, like the All Blacks look like they were on the front foot, so, you've still got a chunk of time in the game left, but unfortunately, I think you said before, Razor said, hard to get off their back fence, and they struggled to get out of their 22 in the back end of the game, so decisions always get scrutinised on outcome, and whether they should have taken it or not, I'm not really sure. I wasn't on the field, so they obviously had a good discussion before it.
Yeah, well, as you say, decisions get scrutinised on outcome. That's such a good phrase. I'm going to write that down and use that in the years ahead, Shields. That's a good one. What about the decision then to withdraw Cam Roigard 10 minutes into the second half? What did you make of that?
Yeah, again, obviously pretty biased. I would have loved to see Cam go for another, 10 minutes at least. I think he was in control of the game, and obviously it's unfortunate for Ratima because, a couple of calls didn't go his way when he got on the field. Like there was the 5-second rule, which is sometimes a little bit unfortunate, but, the referee was pretty clear, and that puts your team under a little bit of pressure. But, he's a great player as well, and he's got a huge spark and brings a lot of energy into the game. So, again, it's the same thing, like you bring guys on for impact, and the last few weeks the All Blacks have been in a really good position, and their guys on the bench have finished the game for them really strong. Sometimes a few things go against you, like I say, I would have loved Cam to have a few more minutes, but obviously the coach sees something different and wants to make that change, and Cortez is a good player, so you're going to put those guys on so they know they're going to finish the job.
How did you assess the All Blacks scrum tonight?
I thought they were a bit unlucky a couple of times. Obviously, early on, they got a penalty against them. Wasn't probably as forceful as it has been, maybe. But at the same time, it looked like the ref was just trying to let the game go a little bit. And there was that one, I think, towards the back end of the game where they got a decent shunt on. It went down to ground, and he just wanted them to play it. So, a bit of a mixed bag, I think, and usually with your set piece, if you're real dominant, like towards the back end of a couple of games, like I said, those three front rowers come on, they change the game through scrum against England, and I think they're just a little bit off, but not to say it wasn't a good weapon, but didn't get it utilised as much as maybe they would have liked.
All right, and yesterday we were talking about these three big test matches, England, Ireland, France, and I think going north, a lot of people said, okay, win 2 out of the 3, and that's a pretty good outcome. The All Blacks have won 2 out of 3, but do you think they'll consider today was an opportunity lost to Grand Slam the Northern Tour?
I definitely think so, and like I said earlier, like they definitely had their opportunities, and they looked like they were a dominant team. France just found a way to hang in there, and a couple of brilliant plays kept them in the game, and obviously the boot as well, keeping them those few penalty kicks ahead, put pressure on the All Blacks in terms of scoreboard. But the All Blacks will be gutted because they definitely put themselves in a position to win the game. And in France, you saw the pre-match, the crowd singing the national anthem, the theatrics of French rugby. Like, it's just an incredible spectacle to be involved in, and I think they'll be gutted, but they'll still be proud of their effort, and they've got to get back on the horse pretty quickly. I'm not saying Italy's an easy game. They'll certainly have to roll their sleeves up, and I'm sure they'll make a few changes, and boys will get an opportunity.
I know your family's vying for your attention, Brad. Appreciate you taking some time on your Sunday afternoon to have a chat, mate, and thanks for joining us.
Nah, it's all good. Thanks for having me, Piney. Appreciate it, mate.
All the best, mate. Cheers. That's Brad Shields, England international, Hurricanes captain, and a pretty astute rugby observer. Your thoughts now. Keen to hear, what you made of it all. 0800 80 10 80. There's a couple of things I'd like to for you to pick up on if you so choose. Just want to get your views on a couple of things, and that's a great phrase by Brad Shields, by the way. Decisions are scrutinised on outcome. So it's easy to say, right, they made that decision and here's what happened. They took the 3 points in the 75th minute to square it up to 30-29, but then weren't able to get back down that end again and put pressure on to earn what would have been another scoring opportunity. That decision scrutinised on outcome. Same with Cam Roigard. I still don't really understand why he was withdrawn when he was. Unless there was an injury, and we haven't heard that confirmed yet, and looking forward to hearing the post-match audio from Scott Robertson, because I'm sure the question will be asked. I was not mystified. I was curious about the decision. With half an hour still to go, why they took Roygaard off. I thought he was having a good game. Got that try, that's an X factor try, that. Almost like an intercept / strip of the ball and then sprints away 20 metres to score. It's an X factor try. It's only one part of it, though. He was very physical, Cam Roygaard. He had them guessing. His ability to snipe. And yes, I know my Hurricanes bias is coming through here, but just you don't know as when you're defending the All Blacks at ruck time if Cam Roygaard's going to pick and go himself or not, because he does it so often that you've always got to be a little bit in two minds. Okay, is he passing? Is he going? I just think he offers a lot and could have offered more in minutes sort of 50 through to 65. Again, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but decisions are scrutinised on outcome. I'm going to use that phrase so often now. Jason, hi, mate.
Yeah, mate. That's a bit I was going to... One of my 4 points, I'll make them quick. If you look at they wouldn't have done that if Aaron Smith was playing. And he's our closest... At least we've solved the question of who's our next Aaron Smith, and you've just mentioned him, Cam Roygaard, all day long. They wouldn't have taken Aaron Smith off with the game so perilously positioned as it was. I've just no doubt about that. So that was the only bit that I was disappointed in, because I tell you what, mate, this was less about not getting the W, more about the performance. And we talked about this yesterday, and I think some of your callers did. I was mightily proud of those guys. They took physicality to a level that I didn't think they were capable of at this stage of their development. They were so over the French, it was only the crowd that was their oxygen mask. They absolutely blew their lights out in the first half. And Tony Johnson said a real key thing about 8 minutes with all this dominance. I just hope the All Blacks won't regret that they haven't put a few more points on, because there was 2 key moments with 9 minutes to go when we were both under their sticks and we got turnover penalties against us. We score 3 or 5 or 7 in one of those 2. French don't come back. They go into the break deflated because they were out on their feet, Piney.
Yeah, no, we should have been ahead by more. We should have been ahead by more at halftime.
Totally, and look, I've got and the big question you raised before. Of course, it was the right decision with 4.5 minutes to take the 3. They were certain 3 points, and we would back ourselves 9 times out of 10 to go up, get a regain off the kick or whatever. French make a mistake, we're under their post again, we get a penalty, game over. So I have no question that was absolutely the right thing to do with that amount of time left.
Okay, was that all 4 points, or have you got a couple more to make?
I go in there. The last one, of course. The last one, how do you rate there, Scott Robinson? I give him, just because of that performance, and I didn't see the performance against Ireland last week, and apparently that was impressive too. I think they go to the beach this summer, because, next week's foregone conclusion, contented to what we can look forward to for next season. I think he's got something special under him here.
Good man, Jace. Yeah, I agree. I think the improvement in the All Blacks over the year has been very encouraging. Very encouraging. Text here, perfect result. This will keep the All Blacks hungry over summer, the little rock under the beach towel. Yeah, I think that's right. They'll look back at this as an opportunity lost. They will. Ian, hi.
Hi, Bonnie. I rang you a couple of weeks ago about, when the All Blacks ended up beating England, and Steve Borthwick's and his coaching side or team, taking their playmaker off. Now, yes. I've got no doubt that England would have won that game. They just, the whole game just changed in complexion, as it did this morning with the All Blacks when they took Cam Roygaard off. In my opinion, I don't know whose decision it is, but I think it was just a crazy decision on my part, just like it was in the England match.
Yeah, that was the old George Ford one, wasn't it? When they brought George Ford on, that was and replaced was it Marcus Smith who was playing at first 5, wasn't he?
Yes.
And look, we talked a lot about that. I remember your call, Ian. I remember, and George Ford had a pretty unhappy sort of a time of things out there. He missed a tackle or 2. He missed a couple of shots at goal. Look, I don't know whether this is akin to that, but I found it a curious decision.
Yeah, it seems to me it could well be. I mean, after, 53 or 54 minutes or some such thing?
Yep.
That they dragged Cam Roygaard, and he was having in my opinion, a pretty good game, and all that sort of thing. and you could see that after that the whole game changed complexion, just like the England match did. In our favour, idea.
Yeah, this was the opposite. This was the inverse, I guess you'd say, of that, Ian. No, it's a very good point you make. Again, we can scrutinise it now, having seen the outcome, and look, again, it'll be a question I'm sure the All Blacks coaching staff will ask themselves: did we make the right decision there? Yet no one makes a decision expecting it to be the wrong one. You know, in any part of our lives, we all make decisions every single day, every single hour. We make decisions probably. And we never expect them to be the wrong ones, but we live and die by their outcomes, don't we? Ian, good to chat to you, mate. 12:26, full board here, got to get a breakaway. Apatahama, Nigel, Mark, please hold. One spare line there if you want to jump aboard. We're talking All Blacks for the next hour and a half, so if you can't get through the first time, please keep trying, or send your thoughts via text, 9292. Back in a moment. Right now, New Zealand's fully inclusive touring specialist, Wendy Wu Tours, has one of their most popular offers on for travel next year. For a limited time, your partner can fly free, or solo travellers save up to 50% on their single supplement. Choose from exciting, unique itineraries around the world, including Japan, China, India, Vietnam, Turkey, and many more. The offer's available on selected departures in 2025. From travelling on bullet trains to cruising majestic rivers or sitting down to eat amazing cuisine with locals, you're in for an unforgettable adventure. With Wendy Wu Tours' impressive inclusions, immersive experiences, and personalised service, get ready for the trip of a lifetime. For information on all their tours and their partner flies free offer, visit wendywootours.co.nz. That's wendywootours.co.nz, or see your travel professional.
Don't get caught offside. Call 0800 80 1080. Weekend Sports with Jason Pine and GJ Gardner Homes, New Zealand's most trusted home builder. News Talk ZB.
Bang on 12:30, talking All Blacks, Apatahama. What's on your mind, mate?
Piney. A few points, bro. Firstly, a couple of things you're talking about. We're from the same town, bro, and Cam Roigard should not have been hooked. You know, he's a worldie, that fella, and he was having a worldie. Here's a hot take for you, Piney. If he stays healthy in 10 years' time, he'll be our greatest ever halfback.
Wow.
He's the full package. He is the full package. And, you know, this season, the Canes, man, once they lost him, they weren't the same team. And he's just physical, got a good pass. He's just like, those bloody niggly forwards around the rucks, he deals with them. His defence, his left boot, he's our James Lowe, you know, his clearance from the base. I ain't seen anything like him, Piney. That's my call.
No, I think just before you go on, Apatahama, I think you're right, because I can't remember a player with so little All Blacks experience having so much clamour around about his return as Cam Roigard's had this year. You know, when he suffered that knee injury in Super Rugby and had that 6-month rehab, there was just this, when's Cam back? When's Cam back? He's only played about 5 Test matches at this point. You know, he is a generational talent. I believe you're right.
And Kane's 2025 if he stays fit. The penalty's a hard one, eh? That I'm talking about that 74th, 75th minute one. Personally, you know, let's give credit to the French D. Once they sorted it out, once they started tackling Artie, they were pretty impressive. And we weren't getting through, so I get the mentality to take the penalty. But did we look like going 90 in that last few minutes? No, we did not. And the kick into the corner, taking a scrum, whatever, we needed 5 to get ahead, right? So that was our time. I don't think we were getting, like, we're sitting there on the couch. Of course, we're not gassed, and we can do some decent analysis of how the game's been going. So you back the guys, but I think Razor said on the tally that they're going to have a talk about it. So I think he thinks it was probably the wrong call. Another thing, the last thing, actually, I'll give the other punches a go. The Spotlight Haka is the greatest pre-match. Last week in Ireland, they had some old koro doing handshakes before the game. The Spotlight Haka, the blue lights in the background, that was amazing. And the French crowd was so quiet. Now, that was cool, bro. I think maybe we should steal that and bring that to New Zealand, I reckon.
Good idea, Peter Harmer. Great to chat to you, mate, as always. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, I thought the pre-match was incredible. The way that the French crowd sung the anthem too. My God. Spine-tingling stuff. Yeah, and the respect for the haka I thought was really impressive. And a great game too. I've had it pointed out by a number of people that this was a great game of rugby. One of the better rugby tests we've had the opportunity to watch this year. If you didn't have any skin in the game, you'd think that was a remarkable game of rugby. We're just a bit annoyed because the All Blacks couldn't win it. But it was a terrific game of rugby. Nigel, thanks for holding. How are you?
Yeah, good afternoon there, young Jason. Yeah, the national anthem, because ours was sung first, and it was just one guy singing it, wasn't it? And then when the French got into theirs, I thought it was a choir singing it. It
was the whole crowd, a choir in the shape of a crowd, Nigel. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was, but it was. I knew there'd be hometown support. I knew there'd be All Black supporters there, but that they'd be outnumbered by the French supporters. It doesn't surprise me. And is that the best All Black game you've seen in 2024, or?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Nigel. I was actually thinking that same thing today before we came on the air. I'm looking back and thinking of the impressive performances by the All Blacks, and I think, were you asking me if that's the best All Blacks performance, or is that the best test match involving the All Blacks of the year?
Yeah, the best All Black game you've seen this year,
yeah,
2024.
I think it is. Is it yours?
Yep. Bit better than the game against England or Ireland.
Yeah, I agree. I think both of the previous two test matches were good test matches. I think Ireland weren't great in the last 20 minutes last week, so that kind of almost detracted a bit from the spectacle of the game. I guess if you weren't an All Blacks fan, if you're a neutral, Nigel, you look at the game and say, really good test match. 1 point win, didn't really know who was going to win, lead changes here and there, a bit of controversy. It was a terrific occasion. Yeah, I think it was a really good test match.
Very good. And that young fella, that schoolboy it rings up, come over from Aussie, how old do you reckon he is? He's
I don't
good,
know.
Isn't he?
He's good, Nigel. He puts a lot of our older callers to shame. Not you, mate, of course, but he puts a lot of our other listeners in the shade. Yeah, Christopher. I don't know how old he is, but he is a welcome addition to the show. That's for sure.
He knows what he's talking about, doesn't he?
We does. Maybe a few of us could learn from it, Nigel. Again, not you, mate. You've made some very good points. Thanks for calling in. 0800 80 10 80. Steady on with the Wellington claim of ownership on Cam Roigard, says Stephen. They're putting a lynch mob together in Waiuku at this very moment. Thank you very much, Stephen. Yeah, look, I'll claim Cam Roigard all day long. I know he's not a Wellington boy. He's from the Waikato originally, isn't he? Plays for counties, but I'll claim him as a Wellingtonian. Mark, hi.
Yeah, once a hurricane, always a hurricane.
100%. 100%. Absolutely right.
Even Cambodia is a hurricane, don't we?
Yeah, I wonder whether that ship might have sailed, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I thought Cam Roigard played better than the best player in the world today in the first half. I thought he was outstanding. That was probably one of the highlights. I thought Artie looked fantastic on the wing with his deft feet. He didn't look out of place there. He looked a lot better than some of the hookers. Cody Taylor, when he gets out there, I thought he was outstanding in the first half. Peter Lakai was good. I think the negatives for me, that stupid rule that they enforced in the last 2 or 3 weeks with the kick up and under. But to me, they're offside. I mean, the whole game, the French are offside. I mean, and it stifles the All Black attack so much, and that all these sort of sideline rests and video rests interfere with these bizarre calls, and yet they don't keep the sides back. And I mean, they're up inside the All Blacks back line before the balls arrived. I mean, it's just, they didn't ping it until the second half where they gave 3 offsides in a row, but I thought they'd just spend the whole game offside, some of these teams against the All Blacks.
Yeah, they were penalised more than us. I think it's 13-9 is the count. The point you make, Mark, about that rule that they seem to be enforcing about, so when there's a kick chase and players are supposedly obstructing or impeding the chasers as the ball comes down to be caught by the player. So Cody Taylor got penalised for it today.
Yeah.
What is Cody Taylor supposed to do in that situation?
I think they want all the players to run off to the sideline and just wait there till the ball's brought. Like parting of the Red Sea or something like that. It's just bizarre. And these things go out to referees, obviously, from up high, and then the referees just feel like they have to enforce them, and it becomes... I think Tony Johnson said it was absurd, and I just thought that's an absurd call. And that cost the All Blacks, 3 points on that, and a lot of pressure that could have resulted in a try. And, I mean, those sort of things need to be sorted out. I mean, I don't think that's the referee's fault. They should have done that. But to me, that offside, I'd love to see a ruler across the field and see how many times these guys are actually offside, because it is stifling the game, really.
Yeah, it's making it hard for space to be found in the back line, Mark, for sure. Just back to that other one. I understand the rationale of the rule, which is they want contested kicks. So if you kick a ball forward and you've got your chasers after it, you want that to be contestable ball. But like I say, it is natural for a player on the other team running back to support his mate who's under it, waiting to catch it, to run towards the ball carrier. Or, sorry, the potential catcher. What is, from the way I read it, what you're supposed to do under this new rule is run back in a straight line rather than a diagonal line. But it is absolutely natural to run straight towards where the ball will land to wrap around your mate to help him out. I watched Cody Taylor this morning. He had eyes on nothing other than, was it Will Jordan or Bowden Barrett? Doesn't matter. Catching the ball. And the French guys just run into him. And Cody Taylor gets penalised for that. I don't understand. I do not understand. Thanks, Mark. Hey, Bruce.
Yeah, g'day, mate. Yeah, that was one monumental test this morning, mate, and obviously gutted by the result, but in terms of a game, was fantastic. But man, I always hate the All Blacks losing. Been a massive All Blacks fan, but I'm really excited about the team. And you mentioned about Cam Roigard being a generational talent, which I believe he is. But I also think we've got guys like Peter Larkai and Wallace Atiti, which you can put in that same bracket. And, I just think that, I hate the All Blacks losing, but I just think in terms of the potential moving forward over the next few years, I'm just ready for the team to explode. So, I just got nothing but excitement for this team.
I love that, Bruce. I share your view. I've just written down here, Larkai. Imagine a loose trio, which includes Larkai and Satiti. Presumably Larkai on the open side. Satiti is probably going to play number 8 moving forward. And then Roigard clearing from the base of that scrum. Larkai, Satiti, Roigard. Add Tupou into there, who's had a really good season and will only grow as time goes on. I think you're right. I think this team's got the makings of a really exciting All Blacks team for the next World Cup cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also have high raps on Fabian Holland, who's still got to come in to the side, in terms of the locking area, and Ruben Love in the background, who's yet to sort of establish his mark. So I honestly do think that we are on the cusp of something great, but sort of just haven't quite got there just yet. So sort of a bit frustrated, but man, just I have nothing but excitement for the team.
Very measured comments, Bruce. I'm like you. I hate it when we lose. I want the All Blacks to win every single test match, but you're able to hover above that, look down and say, hey, this is the makings of a really exciting team at the start of a World Cup cycle. Let's not forget that. This is the first year of a new World Cup cycle, and the development of players like Satiti, Roigard, Larkai, who's only really just arrived, Vai. We'll get the chance to see Ruben Love, I'm sure, next week. Billy Proctor, who's gone home, of course, to be with his partner for the birth of their child, but is another guy who's going to be involved moving forward. And then you start thinking about Latimer and Hotham as the backup halfbacks moving forward, and other players who we've seen a little bit of, but not a huge amount of this year. Sam Darry is another one. Fabian Holland, you mentioned Bruce, who's, I think, joined the team. I think his eligibility is the issue with Fabian Holland, but that will be sorted soon. There is a lot to like about this All Blacks side in terms of the bones of the squad moving forward, and we're only in 2024. 17.5-1. James, Dean, please. That's not one person. James and Dean. Please hold there with you after this on Weekend Sport.
The voice of sport on your home of sport. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine and GJ Gardner-Holmes. New Zealand's most trusted home builder. News Talk ZB.
Left of midfield, back for Bowden Barrett. Now Rico Ioane, soft hands for Lakai, through the pass, through it to a French player, kick downfield, chasing after it. All Blacks under a bit of pressure, ahead, try! What a remarkable try from Louis Bialbiani! France 22, All Blacks 17. Messy ball from the All Blacks, catch ahead by France, and the All Blacks find themselves down by 5 with a kick to come.
Yeah, a bit of a turning point, that one. 5 minutes into the second half, France scoring a converted try to go 24-17 ahead. From that point, they were never behind in the game. James, thanks for holding, mate. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Jason. Hey, thanks for having me on the show. I haven't been listening to all the comments, so I've just heard the more recent ones, and everyone seems to be fizzing about the game, which it was a great game of rugby. The best game we've seen from the All Blacks this year, but the reason for it is a distinctive change in tactics, and that is we're not kicking the ball, those high, stupid balls, low percentage balls over straight to the opposition and giving the possession away. That's a strategy. It's a very low percentage strategy, and I didn't see Roygaard do it once. Ratimer did when he came on, but keeping the ball in hand, we've gone back to our traditional type of style, support play, and they just looked and made such a difference to our game.
Great point, James. You're right. It hadn't even occurred to me, but you're so right. Yeah, Roygaard didn't box kick once, did he?
No. Ratimer did as soon as he came on, but Roygaard's play was exceptional. Okay, they shouldn't have probably changed it, but that's hindsight. Ratimer's played some very good rugby in the past as well, but Roygaard is an exceptional talent out of the Waikato. But just watching the whole game, everyone's like we lost by a point. We could have won it. A few referee decisions, okay, but it made us far more interested in watching the rugby. A far better game to watch.
Our last caller talked about
with this kick and hope, and that's all that kicking is. It's a hope strategy, and hope is not a strategy. It's a very low percentage play, and we've done that for several years now. And we've just become one of the other teams, and so we've just amalgamated with them. We've become ordinary. With this style of rugby, we can differentiate ourselves.
That's another great line. Hope is not a strategy. That's terrific. I love that, James. The previous caller talked about an optimism as we look ahead. Do you share that?
Yes, I do. You have a look at the players. Like there's a few players come in, Satiti and that Slakai have come in. But basically, we've had the same team, but all of a sudden we've changed. It's the same team, and these guys are starting to stand up again, or stand out now. We've got some really good talent there, but as long as we play the right strategy, that's all. Because you look at that. When's the last time you've seen a halfback kick for the corner like that with Roygaard when he put the 20 ball into their 22? We're not doing that. Bowden Barrett kicked across field at one stage to our right wing, and that's a very low percentage shot. That could have gone the other way. If the French had got it, they'd have been scoring at the other end. You can't play low percentage rugby at test level.
Such good thoughts, James. Please call again, mate. I've enjoyed our chat. I've just got to get to Dean, but no, thank you, mate, for that. I've written that down as well. Hope is not a strategy. I think that transitions across all parts of life as well, James. Love it, mate. Hi, Dean.
Hey, mate. Hey, great test, Piney. 2 observations. And it was a great test to find some things out about a few players. Tupou Vai, for me, was really cunning of him. Thought he had his best test of the year. And I've sort of, we've wondered about whether he'd be able to step up. I thought he had a tremendous game. Peter Lakai didn't look out of place for playing, most of the full game. And I thought that was really encouraging because I'm not convinced that Ethan Blackadder's got the durability. And you just look at Lakai and all his potential, that's pretty exciting. I think we missed Mark Talia big time, and I really felt Severis was lacking today. He was really out of his depth. Shorter pace, and that was really showing up when they scored their try. And he's not the aerial player that we need in the wings. We're going to have to find someone to do that job, and in the event these other guys aren't there. And I wondered about this young Crusaders guy, the Fijian boy that's been called up into the squad. That was in the 15. He's super quick, and I think he might have a big future as well if he's given a chance. But you look at the young guys like Tamati Williams, he's stepped up massively. Satiti's been fantastic. So there's a lot to get excited about.
Indeed. You're talking about Shafi Haki, I think. Are you talking about as the...
Shafi Haki, that's the boy. He's super fast, and he's a guy that plays fullback and wing, and that seems to be the trend these days. Guys that are good aerially, that can play those roles, and they sort of form a really good back three when they need to.
It's interesting with Sevu Reece, isn't it? You're right. He didn't play against England or Ireland, but he played the 4 tests before that on the right wing. He played South Africa and Cape Town, Australia, both tests in Sydney and Wellington, and the game against Japan and Yokohama. So he almost had a bit of a hold on that jersey. But yeah, I think Mark Talea, who by his own admission probably had a quieter start to the year, was very good against England and Ireland on that right wing, and but for injury, I think would have played this morning.
Yeah, Reece looked to me really out of it today. I think he was probably the weak link that got found out, and you've got to find those things out in big games, and I think he may have played his last big test, He was certainly short of pace. He looked so slow running back. But, we've got Brazil to come back next year, and that's exciting too. So I think things are building in the right area. So it's a lot to look forward to.
Indeed. Good stuff, Dean. Thanks again, mate, for calling in. Gee, we've had some good calls this hour. Some really good ones. I think we'll keep the conversation open after 1 o'clock if this is going to be the nature of the conversation that we're going to get. 7.5 away from 1. News Talk ZB.
The scoop from the track, field and the court on your home of sport. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine. News Talk ZB.
Just on 4.5 away from 1. We'll open the lines again after 1 o'clock. We had Jason Holland on about an hour or so ago. I asked him about the decision to withdraw Cam Roigard after just 5 or 7 minutes in the second half.
Oh, look, she was a quick game out there, and the Nines are covering some massive metres, and we know what Cortez can give us. He can come on and speed the game up and give that little bit. Cam was good, and 50 whatever it was, 52 or 53 minutes in, Nines are, a new 9 is a real freshener for the team. So, that's the mindset there.
That's Cam Roigard's substitution explanation from Jason Holland. After 1 o'clock, we'll hear from head coach Scott Robertson. Also, Elliot Smith's had a chat to Cam Roigard as well to get his thoughts. Des says, Piney, just love the continuity. All Blacks have made massive strides this year. Assuming they win next week, they finish the year with a 71% win rate, playing England 3 times, the Box away twice, Ireland and France away. We're going in the right direction under Razor. Given the cattle that we have, only 1 or 2 probably make a world 15. Interesting, Des. Thanks for your text. More after 1 o'clock.
The only place to discuss the biggest sports issues on and off the field. It's all on Weekend Sport with Jason Pine on your home of sport. News Talk ZB.
Hello and welcome in, or welcome back as the case may be. It's 1:07. I'm Jason Pine. We're talking rugby for the next half hour or so, maybe a bit longer. James McConey is on the show in his regular slot around 1:45. Between now and then, going to hear the thoughts of All Blacks head coach Scott Robertson, also Cam Roigard on his birthday. A test match on his birthday, a try, but was he withdrawn too soon? You might have some views on that, or on anything that stood out from that test match this morning. We had a full board of calls between 12 and 1. You might not have been able to get through if that was the case. I'd welcome your call now. We'll keep lines open. 0800 80 10 80 is always the number. Some really astute observations last hour. Long may that continue. If you've got a point to make, we'd love to have you do so. 0800 80 10 80 is our number. We'll keep an eye on live sport happening around the place as well. After 2 o'clock, so about an hour away, Finn Butcher joins us. One of the undoubted stars of the Paris Olympic Games with his gold medal in the kayak cross. He's going to reminisce. It's been just over 100 days, actually, since he stood on top of that podium. So with the benefit of 3 months or so hindsight, how's Finn Butcher feeling about life and about his gold medal? 0800 80 10 80. What were Scott Robertson's initial thoughts on what played out today?
Really proud of our efforts and how hard we worked for each other. We created so much, we didn't finish. And that's the tough part, like we played some really, really good footy, and there's a couple of little moments when the game swung their way, especially just before and after half time, so we never put enough pressure, like scoreboard pressure on them early enough, and they stayed in it, and the crowd come into it, and had opportunities in the end to win it, but well done to France. They showed a lot of courage and spirit and defended stoically. Yeah.
There was a thought that there should have perhaps been a few more scrum penalties after the All Blacks seemed to dominate at scrum time. What were Scott Robertson's thoughts on that?
Oh, I think you asking that question leads to the answer, Elliot. Yeah, I thought we scrummaged extremely well. Showed some really good pitches, and probably one of the other areas we talked around the effort, not quite getting the reward for that. We felt we'd earned.
And France's try in the 50th minute, which was, as I mentioned before, a bit of a 14-point swing. The All Blacks on attack, and maybe if a pass had gone to hand to Will Jordan, the All Blacks would have been off down the other end to score a converted try. As it was, ball kicked ahead by France. They scored a converted try. What was the significance of that particular passage of play on the game?
Oh, that was the big moment. It was a 14-point try, wasn't it? Where it goes to hand, we score, they kick it through, and Brady scores. And how fast is he, that left wing? Wow. He's exceptional. So that was their moment and gave him a lot of belief, yeah.
Those were some of the thoughts of Scott Robertson a short time ago at the post-match press conference. You'll have some, I'm sure. 0800 80 1080. Phone them on through. Let's have a chat about this game. Anything you want to pick up on. John, you can kick us off this hour. How are you?
I'm good. I thought it was a great game, and you see, they just made that one slip and that fast winger came through. I'd call that an opportunity try, but there was a big hole there, and he got up and he scored the try. But there was a couple of times that ref was very quick on sort of if they play the ball, and there was a time when they were down there, that French team, and they were creeping across from the line out in the kick in the corner. And they were going across, they weren't going forward. They never said play the ball, move the ball. Do you remember that part of it?
I don't know exactly which part you're referencing, John, no.
Oh, that's okay. I think myself that he puts 3 Barretts on again. I can't understand why they keep our he runs him on McLeod, isn't it? What's his name?
Damien McKenzie.
McKenzie. Now he came on and he made a big impression straight away, and a remarkable, and he dodges all around the bloody field. I don't know why he holds him off and he just brings him on in the last 20 minutes of the game. I mean, he ran down there, remember, and they almost got another bloody try, those French, but he got down there and over that ball about a metre away from their try line.
Yeah, to be fair, but he was fresh. He was fresh, though, wasn't he, Johnny?
Yeah, but he might have been fresh. But I mean, don't take it away. I said to my mate I was watching the game with, I think that the team that won it. Maybe a draw would have been fair. I don't know. But I mean, I thought it was a great game of rugby, and we're blooding a lot of new players, and you've got an immense French crowd on their side, of course. But I just think it's time that McKenzie got on earlier. That's all I'm saying.
No, John, it's a good opinion. It's the interesting part about Damien McKenzie is he started the first 8 Test matches of the year. He started against Ireland last week and against Japan. So of the 13 tests, he started at 10 times in those 13 games and has come off the bench in the other 3. I guess what you're saying is that perhaps he should come off, if he is in an impact role, a little bit earlier. But having said that, he was on in the 50th minute today.
Yeah, well, all I'm saying about it is, if you really go back on the other games, I mean, he's the sort of player that you can't sort of follow after the game and see how he's going to play the game. He doesn't know himself. He's just a very elusive player, and they wouldn't know how to even mark him. And he cuts through like knife through a butter. That's all I'm saying. And I think he's been very instrumental in the winning of a lot of these recent tests. That's what I'm saying about David McKenzie.
Yeah, no, and John, you make a good point, a very good point. Yes, and I think the Damien McKenzie, Bowden Barrett argument discussion, debate will continue next year, and Richie Mo'unga may even be back into that equation as well. My preference is Damien McKenzie off the bench. But as you've pointed out, John, it needs to perhaps be used slightly differently. He was, as I say, today, he came on at the same time that they made the change at halfback. So he had half an hour, and his kicking was good again, wasn't it? Thanks, John. Appreciate your call. Hello, Chris.
How are you going?
Good, thank you, Chris. How are you going?
Oh, it's good. Oh, I'm a bit disappointed today, to be honest. I mean, that game was the All Blacks, right? And obviously you can tell by my accent I'm a Pom, and we don't know anything about rugby.
Oh, look, I think we all know that's not true, Chris. I think you know a lot about it.
But I mean, but you know, the All Blacks are the best team in the world, but when you're fighting against a referee, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the match officials, you know, there's many times that the match officials were incorrect, you know, false neck rolls and obstruction, and they all got points for that, the French. You know, and I've been watching rugby, I'm 68, I've been watching rugby all these years, and the amount of times that the All Blacks have been denied World Cups, games, you know, and championships or whatever, because of these referees. The lines, you got two linesmen, which are AKA now match of assistant referees. You got the referee, you got this guy upstairs, and then you've got this other foul play guy, and they can't even get it right. You remember the old hand of God? I remember this decades ago when Argentina won the World Cup. Hundreds of millions of people saw handball, but the referees and the linesmen didn't, and that went down in history.
Yeah,
so
Chris, I don't think the reason the All Blacks lost the game was because of the referees.
No, well, I think so. I disagree, but we'll leave it there. But you know, we got to. Nobody from the French side or the All Black side, the manager, Razor, or Adi Savir, or anybody complained about the referees, because they know if they do, next game they play, what's going to happen? They'll get pinged even more.
Yeah, I think the reason they don't comment about the referees perhaps is because, as I say, Chris, I don't think that was the reason they lost the game. You know, the referee didn't make the decision to kick for goal instead of kicking for the line, didn't make the decision to make the substitutions, didn't make the decision, as Adi Savir said, to make silly mistakes and the odd turnover. The referee didn't create French pressure. You know, I think the reason that the All Blacks, you know, after the game today haven't talked about the referee, or there was a brief bit there with Razor talking about the penalties at scrum time, was that the referee wasn't the reason the All Blacks lost the game. I too was mystified by a few of his decisions, particularly at scrum time. And listening to Gregor Paul on our commentary, he made the point regularly that the All Blacks were absolutely monstering France at scrum time. And it was almost as though the referee didn't want to give a penalty every scrum. But if that's what is required, then that's what's required. I'll walk it back though. The referee wasn't the reason the All Blacks lost that game. Hello, Murray.
How you doing? I thought it was a great game. Had everything, had all the elements. I made a cup of coffee, never got to drink it, pacing around the room, nervous. I mean, hell, I mean, come on. The Northern Hemisphere season is turning into almost like this mini competition feel. It's got everything, you know. And that was a big stadium. That was a big match.
Yeah, I thought it was a great test. I think if you weren't, like I said before, Murray, if you weren't, I mean, you sound like a Kiwi. I am. You know, we want the All Blacks to win all the time.
My daughter's French.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah. Well, there's a no-lose situation then. Look, I think as a test match, as a spectacle, and you're right to talk about it in a wider sense with the other games we're getting the opportunity to see, the autumn internationals, as they call them up there. There's been some great games of rugby.
Absolutely. And this one, I was always worried about this because it's the third game in, you know, injuries, tiredness, and it was in the big stadium. Stade de France, it's not the Irish stadium, it's almost twice as big. And,
I thought it was looked amazing this morning. It honestly looked amazing. Especially pre-game with they took the lights down and all. I know it's only window dressing to the actual game of rugby, Murray, but I just thought the whole occasion pre-game was awesome.
And getting a bit technical, I think it was the right decision to play Cortez Ratima because we know who Roy Gard is. Scott Robinson knows who he is because, as you said, there's never been someone talked about so much. So he is a big game player. We know that, but he wasn't going to learn anything from Ratima by playing him against Italy. It was now.
Yeah, but I still think you want to win the game of rugby, though, don't you, Murray? I mean, we learn a bit about Ratima against England and Ireland. You know, I would have kept Roy Gard on.
Yeah, for the win, but there's a balancing act, and it's that 4-year World Cup cycle, isn't it? We need three halfbacks. We need 3 halfbacks. We need 3 10s, and we haven't got them yet. So when do you know?
It'll be a genius decision in 3 years, Murray. You're right. If the development of Ratima and Roy Gard, and I guess Noah Hotham is the other one, if it continues to go on the same trajectory that it is, we could arrive at the next World Cup with 3 absolutely brilliant halfbacks
and a good forward pack. They're young and they're big and they're strong and skillful.
Good stuff, Murray. Good points, well made, my friend. Thanks for calling in. I'm sure your daughter will be pleased too. The outcome of the game. Hello, Tom.
Hey, Bonnie. Mr. Dave McKenzie.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I wonder whether you would call that. Honestly, I think we could probably do a whole show on DMac. What did you make of his impact? What did you make of his impact this morning?
Yeah, no, he was insane. Like, you could come off the bench instantly. I think first touch, break down the left, instantly. I think then he put someone through a hole. Instantly impact. Was back there to save that try after that break. Obviously kicked 4 out of 4 penalties. He made another break. Will Jordan again through a pass that probably shouldn't have been thrown. So no, he was insane. I think we need to start looking at the point that I think someone before talked about scoreboard pressure. And at the end of the day, you bring an impact player on when you're losing. We saw it against England. Brought him on when we were losing with Barrett at 10. Bring Damien on. He wins us the game. Last week against Ireland, Damien McKenzie, man of the match performance at 10. This week, Barrett's at 10. Damien comes on the 55th minute. We're losing. Barrett at 10. Damien comes on. We get within a point. I think he impacted the game pretty well. And yeah, no, at the end of the day, you even go back a bit more. We go Japan. That was Japan's second biggest loss in the last 10 years. D-Mac at 10. Game before that, when he got dropped to the bench against Aussie, he set up the try for our only points scored in the Rugby Championship after the 60th minute. So he's clearly playing good rugby. Like, if we're just going to act like this guy's made one or two mistakes, he shouldn't be in the team or shouldn't be starting. That's just ridiculous. Because we saw today, Barrett, I think he had a good game. He put away the boot a lot and he ran the ball, but he didn't create a lot. Both our tries came from Roy Gard's individual brilliance, and then there was that try down the left in the first half again. Nothing to do with Barrett, if we're being honest. Like, I don't think he's creating the play that we want. He's not. The team wasn't exactly sharp. So, and even overall selection. I don't not one to bag players, but Sevu Reece as well is a bit of an elephant in the room. I think he's clearly out of form, and I would have liked to have seen Will Jordan on the wing and Beauden Barrett at fullback, but.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it's not Reece on the right wing, then who is it? Because obviously Talaya injured. Yeah, in the current squad. I would have put maybe Will Jordan. I just think they're all in on him at fullback now. It feels to me, and I know what you're saying about perhaps playing Damien McKenzie there in this situation. I guess they also could have potentially gone a bit deeper into the squad and included Ruben Love somehow. But it's. I kind of feel like their hand was forced in many ways around just a lack of fit wingers in the squad at the moment.
Well, it's one of those things where Brazer's always said he sees Jordan as a fullback who can play wing. And it's like, if it gets to the point where we get Reece injured and then, let's say if Reece got injured and the next man up, are we just going to keep going down the list till we start playing NPC players on the right wing? I think if your next best option is Will Jordan on the right wing and Beauden at fullback, do it. It's pretty logical in my opinion. Like, you've got experienced Test players out there who are in form who warrant selection in the jersey. Like, at the end of the day, we're seeing, obviously different positions, but we're seeing Sevu Reece starting in the All Blacks jersey with a player like McKenzie on the bench. That doesn't sit right with me.
Good point.
Again, each to their own. But no, it was a good game, cracking spectacle. Huge respect to the French crowd for the way they respected the haka. That was neat. And it was a good game. It was a real good game, and I think the All Blacks boys, that they fronted, like, they had a good game, and we know how good that French crowd, the French team is, and the crowd got into it. And Ramos, great kicker, so they punished the All Blacks with his kicking. And overall, I think the All Blacks just weren't as sharp as we'd like. We didn't see them defend like they did last week. I don't think there was the same sort of connection. In an open game like that, selection-wise, states that D-Mac's probably your best option at 10. So, yeah, just my. I
think he'll play the next week. I think he'll play at 10. Yeah, I just feel like, and if he does, then they've gone McKenzie, Barrett, in the 5 Test, haven't they? In fact, even going back for that, in fact, they've gone from Australia and Sydney. Up till now, they've gone McKenzie Barrett. So yeah, it's been a test each for the last half a dozen.
Exactly.
Next year's going to be interesting, man.
Yes, it's a debate they'll go on for next year, as you say. I'm assuming Barrett will be at 10 for the Blues, and obviously McKenzie will be at 10 for the Chiefs. And it'll be interesting. But and I don't really know what Barrett Robinson's plan is with Barrett, in the sense that, as an aging player, if he wants to continue with him at 10, as he gets to 35, 36, in the hope that Mwanga comes back, or I don't know what his plan is with Barrett, if he wants to use him as a stopgap, or if he thinks that he is his starting 10, he wants to back him. But I don't see him as the future. I think McKenzie's clearly shown he deserves the 10 jersey. So, I'd like to see him start next week against Italy. And I wouldn't actually mind seeing Ruben Love at fullback next week with Jordan on the wing. I think that could be interesting against the Italians.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of guys next week who get games, and I think Ruben Love's one of them. What do we see? We saw him come off the bench against Japan, didn't we? Got a couple of tries late on. I think you'll see him. Billy Proctor's not there, so he won't get a game, but I think you'll see a lot of guys who haven't played for the last 3 weeks get games. I'm pretty sure I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. I'm sure others will work this out. But there's a lot of guys. A lot of guys have played the last 3 weeks. Big Test matches back to back to back. But I think D-Mac will start at 10 next week. Beauden Barrett might not even be in the squad. It might be that they say, okay, Bodie, we don't need you this week. Although he didn't play against Ireland, did he, with concussion? So perhaps he does get one more test. But maybe it's in the 22 jersey or 23 jersey. We'll wait and see, I guess. Love your work, Tom. Good to chat to you, mate.
Yeah, you too. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
All the best. Mate. Cheers. 0800 80 1080 is our number. 126, we'll get a breakaway. There is a spare line there. We'll keep on chatting. All Blacks for the next little while. James McConey going to stop in with his regular input in the next 10, 15 minutes or so. After 2, Finn Butcher. Looking forward to catching up with the Butcher, gold medalist at Paris 2024. A bit of all whites football for you as well. But let's keep talking rugby. 127 back after this. Walking barefoot through fresh green grass is one of life's great pleasures. But when the soft spring of fresh lawn gets replaced with scratchy, rough weeds, it is time to sort it out. Yates Weed and Feed will deal with large areas of broadleaf weeds, including onehunga, weed, daisy, thistle, and dandelion, because weeds are best killed when they first start growing, ideally. Weed and Feed is best applied before weeds flower and set seed. As well as effectively eradicating weeds, Yates Weed and Feed also contains a fertiliser that has nitrogen to encourage lush green leaves and a stronger lawn, and iron to promote a rich green colour through your lawn. The hose-on couldn't be easier to use. The on-off switch means you can attach it straight to your garden hose and spray your lawn directly. The wetting agent gives improved spray coverage and leaf penetration, making it work quickly and effectively. Once the spray is dried, grass is safe for pets and children. Fewer weeds, greener grass, minimal effort. Take the next step for a barefoot-ready lawn and grab Yates Weed and Feed at your favourite hardware store or garden retailer today.
The big issues on and off the field. Call 0800 80 1080. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine and GJ Gardner-Holmes. New Zealand's most trusted home builder. News Talk ZB.
On his left-hand side, Williams out the back for Jordan. Jordan for Lakai. Ball left-hand side, Cato Clark. Clark into the 22. Arnie Salvia cuts back in field. Bumps off 1, 2, 3. Finds Peter Lakai. All Blacks are over. Peter Lakai. Been on the park for 6 minutes. Makes the All Blacks first try.
Yeah, I'm sure Peter Lakai wasn't expecting to be on in the second minute, but Summerpenny Finau departing gave him 78 minutes and his first test try. What did Scott Robertson make of Peter Lakai's performance?
Oh, exceptional. You know, he was accurate, volunteered, backed his skill set. He had a great game, for his second test, and the enormity of it was special.
Also from Scott Robertson, what's the strategy today to hold the ball more than they have in previous test matches? In other words, kick the ball less.
Yeah, we wanted to hold the ball and put a lot of pressure on them by making a lot of tackles. Yeah, we did exactly as the question you asked. Maybe at times we could have kicked a little bit more, and maybe if we caught the last pass, we're glad we held the ball. So it's a fine margins in that regard, but we certainly created a lot. We didn't quite finish enough.
Bringing Damien McKenzie on 15 minutes into the second half, was there a plan, a pre-strategy behind that?
A bit of both. He covers the backfield if it's 10 or 15, and just with him in the coverage, you get two great counter attackers. With Will and keep Bowden in the front line. So that was the plan.
And finally from Scott Robertson, the battle of the nines, or the starting nines anyway. How did he see Antoine Dupont versus Cam Roigard?
Yeah, I thought Cam took some great opportunities on his birthday. So it was a wee moment for him. It was great to see him come back in the test. He fought really hard, rehabbed his injury incredibly well, and deserved the opportunity to start tonight. There were some nice touches, and it was a good head-to-head with Antoine. Tamati Williams he's world-class, he's big, strong, got a great skill set, and he can scrummage, which is the number one job for a front rower. And he loves his craft, so I'm really pleased for him.
So there you go, that's Scott Robertson talking about various aspects of this morning's game. Mitch says, would Cam Roigard's substitution be minute management, perhaps? His first start back in a massive test after a large knee injury and recovery. The longevity of Cam for his career and the All Blacks may have been at play here. No, it's a good point. Good point. We'll hear from Cam Roigard before the end of the show. He didn't look like a bloke who needed managed minutes, but then I'm not a sports scientist. Dean, hi.
Hello there, Piney. Yeah, I haven't seen all the game through yet. I'm just watching the second half now because I had to go to a meeting. I only saw the first half. But those high kicks, that really gets, my nose is so long it's not hard to get up, but it really gets my nose.
Oh, wow. That's a good one, Dean. I love it.
It really does. I remember in the days when I played with Snow White, whenever the ball went up in the air and Nancy backs were standing there with their ballet shoes on and not running back and getting behind the ball and coming forward, he would scream at us, for goodness, big expletive, get back behind the ball and come forward, because his story was if the other team got it, they had momentum forward. But when I see the All Blacks, and I see it in a lot of teams, they kick off, everyone stands there and just looks instead of running back, getting behind, coming forward and when the fullback comes screaming up from 50 metres back, when there's a dozen players standing under the ball that could catch it. I don't know why they do that, but that business of getting in behind the ball would alleviate this business of getting in the way of players running through of obstruction. That's just a thought I had.
Yeah, that's interesting, Dean. I guess if you are running to get back behind the ball, you can still run directly towards where the ball's going to land, right? It's a confusing new kind of rule to me, this one, I have to say.
Well, I would totally agree. You do run to where the ball's going down, but the problem is there's so many things that can happen that you go up after the ball and you to touch the player in the air, you get penalised. In the line-out, I thought it used to be a contest. Now you just touch the other guy's arm, you get penalised. I mean, it's changed so much with the penalties. To me, the penalties spoil the game.
Interesting call as always. Yeah, interesting call as always from you, Dean. Thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your call and your humour. A couple on text. Sean says, great game, Piney. Shame about the loss, but that final penalty kick, as soon as it was signalled, my first thought was, never would I have seen Richie McCaw do that. Yeah, the decision to take the kick, to close it up to 1 point with 4 minutes to go. And Brad Shields was interesting on this when he spoke about it. You have to back yourself to get back down that other end, don't you? If you don't kick for the line, what you're saying to yourself is, okay, we'll take the points and back ourselves to get back down the other end with very, very tired bodies because we're in the latter stages of the game. So there's a bit that comes into play. If you kick for the line, obviously, look, it's almost a guaranteed 3 points. You know you're going to get the 3 points. And often, take the points is a mantra you hear a lot. But if you kick for the line and set up a line-out drive or whatever it is that you're setting up, whether it be that or then a backline move, there's a far greater chance you'll come away empty-handed. It's the old bird in the hand, two in the bush kind of thing, isn't it? But yep, they'll relitigate it. They'll think about it. They'll examine the decision. Text here from Gunnar. Piney, congrats to France, but this is a rare time for me after an All Blacks loss that I'm not devastated. Not as I could be anyway. I'm still disappointed, but the All Blacks to me have shown huge growth since July. The forward pack is the real improvement. For the second week in a row, they pretty much owned their Northern Hemisphere forward pack, thanks to Jason Ryan. I feel now the All Blacks forward pack has the confidence to compete and dominate their opponents like the old years. Yes, there are still silly mistakes, but those mistakes are fixable. Is it just me? But can anyone else feel huge amounts of confidence for the future, which is looking very bright? Gunnar, I think a lot of us are feeling that way. We've had a couple of callers make that very point. Tim, do you feel confident about the future? Oh, that's probably a very philosophical question. Let's narrow it down to the All Blacks' future.
Very confident. I think they performed exceptionally well throughout this whole Northern tour. Look at the stocks that we've got, especially people like Titi, Peter Lakai today. I'm massively confident in the way that this team's heading in just the first year with all of those changes. I don't understand why people would be questioning that. I've got a strange one for you, Piney. Throughout the game, there are a couple of moments there where there would have been a possible yellow card if the All Blacks would have played to the penalty, but they carried on down the field. In the past, I feel like the All Black teams of old would have been able to drop the ball on the foot, then get the penalty, yellow card. Do you feel like they're playing through these moments and the ref won't go back to the infringement and give a yellow card? I kind of feel like past teams would have done that.
Yeah, I know exactly the situation you're talking about, Tim. I do, yeah. And it's interesting match management, isn't it? Yeah, that you say that somebody is quick thinking enough to say, right, if we come back here, they're going down to 14. Is it the deliberate knock on you're talking about, isn't it? Correct.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's such an interesting point. I guess in the heat of the moment, the more experience you have, somebody makes that decision. It's always interested me that as well when you have a pressure building and the referee says, hey, the next time you infringe, it's a yellow card, and then you score a try, and it almost seems, and they infringe again, but you go on to score a try. It's almost forgotten the fact that they've infringed, should get the try and also send the guy off.
Exactly. I just feel like players in the past, maybe DC, maybe Conrad Smith, maybe those kind of players with that upper, that real rugby intelligence would have just been like, what, I'm just going to chip this through. We're going to get a penalty, and they'll go upstairs and pull out the yellow card. That's just my thought on it. I've seen it quite a few times in this season. I just wondered what you think.
It's a great thought, and I can't help but agree, Tim. I can't help but agree because, guys with greater experience, just a cool head in that situation may well have done exactly what you're suggesting. Good call, mate. Drive safe. Thanks for your call. 19 away from 2. When we come back, James McConey in his regular Sunday slot.
Crouch, hold, engage. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine and GJ Gardner-Holmes. New Zealand's most trusted home builder. News Talk ZB.
Coming up 16 away from 2 Sunday afternoons mean James McConey. Hello, mate.
Hi, Piney. How are you?
I'm good. What did you take? Say that again?
Ça va, monsieur.
Ça va, all that stuff. Bonjour, bonsoir, sacré bleu, all of those things. What did you take away from? What did you take away from the Test match this morning?
I enjoyed the Test match. Thought it was a great game. I think that's the general consensus. I thought it was scrappy though, but definitely good for World Rugby. Probably helped Antoine Dupont given that he's seemed to be anointed with GOAT status already, but Cam Roigard definitely challenged him because I thought he was the best on the field for the All Blacks while he was out there. And overall, I think it's just a case of our luck running out. We had luck against England, George Ford hitting the post with that penalty, and in this situation, we just, our luck ran out.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good summation, Red. It was I've said a couple of times this afternoon, if you didn't have any skin in the game and you just watched it as a Test match, you'd say that was an entertaining 80 minutes. I thought it was a good game.
Yes, and look, the other thing is there was the benefits for the All Blacks, I think, are immense. So Peter Larkai announced himself as a proper Test player, and he was exceptional. Had to come on in the second minute when poor old Samipeni Finau, also known as Buffy the First Five Slayer, had to go off injured. So seeing Larkai out there was great, but and Artie was exceptional. You could see he's decided, right, I've got to lead from the front here. But you still miss Sam Cane, and the reason why is because our ruck ball wasn't clean, and I think there was a close-up shot of Mighty Williams looking around, perplexed, going, where are my cleaners? Where are the guys cleaning out this ruck? He presented perfect ball, and I think that's where you actually do miss someone like Sam Cane.
No, good point. Is he definitely out next week? Could he play one more test for the All Blacks? I haven't heard. You might not know.
No, I don't know, but I'd like to see him get one last hurrah if that's going to be it for Sam Cane. There are a couple of points, Piney, and I'm not sure, maybe some of your listeners have raised this, but I thought the All Blacks under advantage, I've always felt this, we should be throwing the kitchen sink at them, as soon as there's a penalty advantage, why not break open the glass with your emergency backline move that you wouldn't normally use? It should be razzle-dazzle because you're getting a penalty anyway. And to see us pick and go and then come back, back to where they were, it's like you're expending so much energy doing that. You might as well have tried something. You might as well bomb the end goal, right, if that's the case.
Yep.
And then the other point was before half-time, I think Bowden took a 40-metre drop goal, and I think we'd retreated 25 metres, so we were up by the 22, which would have been a good place to have taken that drop goal. But for some reason, it's sort of like we just went, oh, well, we couldn't break through now, let's just try it from here. And I think maybe that just the planning in those situations would have been good. And plus, I've got one more note here. Backline moves. They're not really working. I counted clean breaks made. There were 2 by Mighty Williams and maybe 1 by Roigard, So there's a few work-ons.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There are work-ons. Did you catch any of the England-South Africa game that preceded this one? I kind of had half an eye on it. South Africa winning at 29-20, so that's back-to-back losses for England at Twickenham, which I think we can all probably have a little smile about that. Did you catch any of this game?
I did see it, and I saw that Cheslin Colby is still exceptional and tormenting England like he did in that World Cup final in 2019. But what it says to me is that I think Rassie Erasmus is trying to do a bit of a Donald Trump here and make South African rugby great again in between World Cups. Because before there always was a hangover period for South Africa when, for some reason you could just, get a win over them. And you wonder what happened to the South Africa of old. Whereas I feel like Rassie is pretty much going around saying we're number one and we're going to prove it every single time. Which is, and France is kind of doing the same, which is good to see, really. I don't think I've ever seen the top 5 of world rugby be this competitive for a long time.
Yeah, and Australia will hope to rejoin that kind of conversation at some point. They've got Wales tomorrow morning, who are terrible. The Wallabies should win this one. I think they're firm favourites in Cardiff. But Joseph Suaalii has been, after his very impressive debut, Joe Schmidt's put him on the reserves bench. What did you make of his debut, and what did you make of that decision?
Well, one of the great debuts, man of the match at Twickenham in that victory. I mean, he is a freak. He's 6'4", 6'5", I think. About your height, Piney. He can run a bit faster than you, and he's just an incredible athlete. Who there was a big battle when he was a schoolboy, whether he'd go to Union or League, and he went to League, and that's probably helped him in a lot of ways. You know, with the being in a professional environment straight away, the conditioning they do, and try and get him up to speed. But I think he could be the greatest convert, if you can really call him a league convert. I think he could be the greatest because for Australia, I mean, Folau was probably equally great in both codes. He might be the greatest, but I always felt like Wendell Saylor, Lottie Takeri, all those other ones that came across, even Brad Thorne, you'd say his body of work in league was almost equal, if not better, to rugby. So now I think it's a superstar is born really with Joseph Suaalii, and I'm also thinking, well, our own Joseph, Joey Manu, has switched to rugby, and so how long will it take for him to get in there? I did mention backline moves and lack of penetration there in the midfield. Maybe Joseph Manu could get a shot in the near future.
Do you remember that guy Ian Crossan, who played for Southland for a bit, Bay of Plenty, and then went across and played for Souths in Cronulla?
Yeah, exactly. He gave it a nudge. The player's going in the other direction. Scott Goulet did it. Remember, there's a few.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot that sort of go either way. But look, I think Suaalii is probably gonna, if he can eclipse Folau's body of work, is impressive. But I think Suaalii looks like he could do it. He could be the greatest convert.
I'm not sure why Ian Crossan popped into my head. Actually, that's a very niche reference when we're talking rugby union, rugby league converts.
Darryl Halligan, obviously one of the great
rugby converts. Of course. Hey, there was a boxing fight. It was about yesterday between a YouTuber and a 58-year-old. Did you watch it?
Yeah, unfortunately I did. I didn't want to, but as soon as I saw that shot of Mike Tyson in a G-string, somehow it sort of lured me in. I just don't know what's going on, but I saw him, and it was on the ACC, of course, Alternative Commentary Collective's social media page, so I thought I'll get on Netflix and have a look. And like everybody, I thought Tyson needs to win it in the first round or, early in the second, or it's all over. And it was all over, just a points decision. But I think it's anti-sport to me. I don't think it's just really a circus sideshow. And just in terms of being 58, I mean, I'm not far off that myself, but can you remember when George Foreman came back, when he made his comeback in 1987, he was 38 and everybody thought that was old,
Yep.
So that's just 58 is a bridge too far, and no, there's no point to do that. If boxing, what it really needs to do is get that kind of audience for their top athletes, so they can feel well aggrieved that they're not getting $20 million US or $40 million perhaps. I was talking about the purse for both fighters.
Yeah, crazy. Hey, got about 60 seconds. Tim Southee is going to retire from international test cricket after the upcoming series against England. How will you remember him?
I remember him as someone who was exceptional, got every ounce of talent, he sort of squeezed every ounce out of his talent. I think he used as much as he possibly could to get those 385 test wickets. Like the pink ball test in Eden Park stands out. I think him and Trent Bolt were an awesome duo. He's on the Mount Rushmore of top New Zealand bowlers, and good on him. He'll get a chance to sort of bow out on his own terms. But look, Tim Southee is he sort of looked a bit ungainly, didn't he, when he first turned up? But I think it was Ricky Ponting who said this kid's going to be good, and he was right. A great servant of New Zealand cricket.
Well said, mate. Well said, James. Great to chat as always, mate. We'll do it again next Sunday. James McConey, part of our Sundays here on News Talk ZB, 7 away from 2.
When it's down to the line, you make the call on 0800 80 1080. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, News Talk ZB.
4-2, all right, after 2 o'clock, we'll mop up a little bit of residual All Blacks stuff. I've got to hear from Cam Roygard and a few more texts, which I do want to read out because a lot of good points have been made. But first up after 2 o'clock, in case you missed it, and then the Butcher, Finn Butcher, gold medalist in the kayak cross at the Paris Olympics, just over 100 days since he's still on top of that podium. How does he reflect on it? Finn Butcher after 2, and also Michael Boxall out of the All Whites.
The only place for the big names, the big issues, the big controversies, and the big conversations. It's all on Weekend Sport with Jason Pine on your home of sport. News Talk ZB.
2:07. Welcome into the show. This is Weekend Sport on News Talk ZB, at least until 3 anyway. Tim Beveridge takes over after that with the Sunday edition of the Weekend Collective. This hour, Finn Butcher standing by to chat to us. I think 3 or 4 months ago, most people in New Zealand wouldn't have known who Finn Butcher was. But after his feats at the Paris Olympic Games, he became an overnight superstar. And rightly so. Terrific what he did in Paris. He's had a bit of time to reflect on it, about 100 days actually. So Finn Butcher going to have a chat to us about his wonderful time at the Paris Olympics, what stands out most vividly and what lies ahead for him. Also this hour, the All Whites are in camp at the moment. They beat Vanuatu comfortably in Hamilton on Friday night, 8-1. They take on Samoa tomorrow night, Mount Smart Stadium, in the second of their World Cup qualifiers in this window. Doesn't matter what happens tomorrow night. They are assured of a place in the Oceania semi-finals of World Cup qualifying. That is next March. And then the final to follow. Automatic qualification up for grabs for the winner of Oceania for the next World Cup. So the All Whites looking very good to achieve just that. Michael Boxall out of the All Whites camp, and we'll mop up the remaining correspondence and bits and pieces from the All Blacks France Test match this morning. You can continue to get in touch across the next hour or so if you'd like. 0800 80 1080 to get on the phone. 9292 on text, but we've just gone 2:08, so as we always do, let's get you up to date with some of the stuff that might have escaped your attention. As you were doing other things over the last little while, you might have missed some of the sport that's been going on, so we've pulled it together for you. In case you missed it, is the name of the feature. We start in Australia, and the Australian cricket team avenging their ODI series loss to Pakistan in the T20 series.
Who's the call? I don't think they'll get back for a second. He's going to be in real trouble there, and that run out affected by the captain. We'll see him win his first series.
Yep, Australia winning the second T20 by 13 runs, 147 for 9, plays 134 all out, locking up the T20 series with a game to spare. The Breakers are back with a win over the Cairns Taipans away from home.
Jackson Cartwright nestles that one home. New Zealand moved to 7-3, and at least for now, put themselves back to the top of the NBL standings.
Yeah, impressive win on Cairns Taipans' home court at the Cairns Convention Centre, 77-69. The Breakers winning last night. The Supercars title's been locked up with a race to spare.
From Will Brown, who's on the left-hand side of screen. He was the Formula 4 champion in 2016, Toyota 86 champion in 2016, Formula 4 runner-up in 2016, TCR champion in 2019, runner-up in Dunlop Super 2, and he is now, in 2024, the Repco Supercars champion.
Yeah, there you go. Brock Feeney winning the race, but as mentioned, Will Brown taking home the season Drivers' Championship. And to some more international rugby, Scotland, far too strong, as expected, for Portugal.
Lovely hands from Hastings to Curry to Reid, who's scorching away, untouched. Scotland opening up, finding the gears in attack.
The final score there, 59-21 to Scotland, and a 29 points to 20 win for the Springboks over England at Twickenham.
Pollard bouncing around on his toes. It's Dearlende first, however. When he's got through the brute strength, and then the pass to Colby. And Colby's feet take him over the line. That'll do. That'll do. And it continues to be a bleak, bleak English autumn.
The scoop from the track, field and the court on your home of sport. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, News Talk ZB.
11 minutes past 2. One of the undoubted highlights of the Paris Olympic Games this year was Finn Butcher winning gold in the inaugural Olympic kayak cross event.
There it is. They plunge in. Where is Butcher positioned himself? He's made a strong start, Butcher. He's in first. He's in the gold medal position as they make their way down the course, and he's got a 2 boat length lead. Superb start for Butcher. He heads around gate number 1 and powers his way down the Whitewater Rapids. He completes the Eskimo roll and heads for the first upstream gate. Finn Butcher is still in the gold medal position as he makes his way down the course through gate number 3. It's the Brits behind him, Joseph Clark. Finn Butcher with about a boat length advantage now as the Brits, Clark, makes inroads. He's around gate 5. He has to go across the grain here, Butcher. Through gate 6. 2 gates to go. Through 7. The all-important upstream gate for Finn Butcher. Just has to navigate it safely. And the gold medal is his. Finn Butcher is an Olympic champion. Can you believe it? Carve his name into New Zealand sport history. The Butcher delivers the goods in Paris.
Oh, tremendous commentary from Nick Bewley. That brings it all back. Finn Butcher is with us now. Just over 100 days since that happened, Finn, since you stood on top of that podium with the gold medal around your neck. What stands out the most when you think back 100 days or so?
Yeah, oh man, quite a lot, to be honest. Like it was such an enjoyable time of my life, and yeah, something I'll never forget. But look, I think we really went to the games with, you know, obviously wanting to perform well and stand on the box, but also to enjoy the whole thing because you know, I've spoken to a lot of people who have been to the games before and maybe not let themselves enjoy it because they've put so much pressure on themselves and then potentially not even not performed well because of that. So I think probably actually just what stands out is the way that I myself, but also Aaron, my coach, we let ourselves enjoy the moment and gave ourselves little times where we can just pause and look up into the crowd and be like, holy, you know, look at this, pretty cool to be here and to be there with each other and kind of go full circle together. And yeah, obviously, you know, standing on the podium and hearing the national anthem getting played was probably something that, yeah, I'll never forget, that's for sure.
Do you think perhaps in hindsight, the fact you were in a slightly more relaxed state, as you've just outlined, might have been one of the reasons for your success?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Look, because it was my first games, I spoke to a lot of people who had been before and, you know, been around, and a lot of my support team had gone through multiple Olympic cycles. So, you know, having all those people to sort of guide me and you know, like educate me and let me know that it is a pretty crazy event, but you know, we just wanted to focus on the things that we could control, and you know, you can kind of approach things 2 different ways. You can let them sort of overwhelm you and stress you out if something goes wrong, you know, like the bus breaks down or it's gone the wrong side of Paris, which happened. You know, you can get stressed out and let it overwhelm you, or just, you know, take it in your stride. And I think it's probably my nature anyway. So it was just, yeah, trying to almost let myself be who I am. And yeah, I mean, it could have gone either way, but I think it definitely contributed to being in a good headspace when I was, you know, on those days sliding off the ramp and going for it. So yeah, I think it was a pretty crucial aspect, and yeah, definitely something I'm pretty proud of.
So the kayak cross was the second of your events. You had the kayak single first of all. Did it help to have that event before the kayak cross?
Yeah, I think so. So, like, we had basically 6 days of canoe slalom and then 4 days of kayak cross. So the first 3 days of canoe slalom was the women's kayak and the men's C1, which are neither of my events. So we had 3 days before I even started racing. So we could kind of go to the venue and pick and choose, the moments where I wanted to go and watch and really kind of get used to the atmosphere. So then when I actually started the canoe slalom, it wasn't, just hitting me in the face and overwhelming. So that definitely helped for the slalom. And I think, so by the time I got to the slalom, it was already, 3 days of competition. I'd watched a fair bit and kind of been around the venue when it was full of spectators and everything. So by the time I started the slalom, I was already pretty used to it and in a good, relaxed headspace. And then, finishing that, actually pretty disappointed because I got a 50-second penalty for missing a gate. So didn't really finish where I wanted to be, but, I'd already had a good hit out. I knew I was in good physical shape. And, like I say, I was in a pretty good headspace. So going into the cross, I sort of knew that, if I can paddle to the way that I know I can, then we'll be in for a good shout. And if anyone watched the kayak cross, you sort of, anything can happen. So we could just basically focus on the start and then just rip into that and then play it how it lies the rest of the way down the course. So, it obviously turned out pretty well, which is cool.
Indeed it did. So in the kayak cross, time trial, then round 1, quarterfinal, semi-final and the final. At what point during all of that did you think, I'm a chance here?
I knew going in that I'd be a chance, for sure. I'd had good results previously this year, but also in the past few years. So I knew that I'll be a chance. And then I had a pretty solid time trial. And then round 1, I actually got kind of stitched up and ended up in one of the hardest first rounds because of one of the top seeds actually stuffed up the time trial, so then got seeded really low for round 1 and ended up in my heat. So I had only a heat of 3, but the other 2 were really top quality paddlers. So, I was kind of like, oh, God, here we go, trial by fire. But, managed to get a really good round in there and kind of just started rolling from there. Like you say, we had 4 days, so it was time trial, and then the next day was round 1, and basically that's that one heat, and you're done for the day. And then the next day, heat 1, and then you're done for the day. And then the finals day was 3 rounds, so quarters, semis, finals. We were just taking each heat as it comes because you can't look past it really. Everyone in that race was a threat, and they're all, if you're out in front or if you're behind, they're all trying to take you out at some point. So, really just trying to be in that moment. And, pretty much, I think going into the finals day, I was I don't know if I was on a good side of the draw. I think both sides are pretty hard, but, I knew that I was feeling really good and I had the starts pretty dialed, which went a long way to winning the race.
Talk to me about when you're at the top of the course, about to be dumped into the water with the other paddlers. Do you have a process, or what is the last sort of few thoughts before that happens?
I guess I can probably go through from 10 minutes before. You've got to be going through the pre-start. So we've got a big tent at the top with pre-start, and you collect your coloured bib and choose your lane, and then wait for the previous heat to go, and then go up the ramp. And actually, it was pretty cool. So Kelly Bailey, who's from Wanaka, she was judging there, and she was actually the pre-starter. And so I've sort of grown up, with her and in the community in Central Otago, and she's been judging a lot of races and been around the show and organising a lot. So it was quite cool to just have, she was very professional. in her role at the games. But, every round I was coming up and just giving her a wee head nod. And we just acknowledged each other. So that was kind of the first part. And then through the pre-start and just have a chat with my coach and make sure I knew what lane to pick. And just almost a little yarn, like nothing too serious. And we just give each other a little fist pump and say a few words. And then, I choose the lane, wait for a bit, and then we go up the ramp and they start playing, once you get in, they start playing sort of heartbeat, like a heartbeat sound. And you're sort of like sitting up on the ramp, quite high above the water, 4 or 5 metres above the water and just staring out to this massive crowd with the heartbeat sound going. So it's pretty, you're sort of like, just drop me off now. Just send us off. Yeah, so, and then when the process starts, so they sort of go in position, and then after that, you're not allowed to move. So, I just wanted to be leaning back as far as I could, and then basically listen for the start beep and react as fast as I could, throw myself forward, and then almost let all my practice take over, and just trying to land as good as I could and get a good few strokes, and just basically all I wanted to do was hit that with as much intent as possible, because that's the first part of the race, and it's basically the only part you can control is how fast you react to the ramp and how you can slide down it, and then anything else is, like I said before, you just play it how it lies. So pretty much just really focused on the start, waiting for that beep, and then just rip into it as hard as I could.
Well, I think about the final. I think probably the British paddler Joe Clark, probably the favourite, I guess, if you were going to list out who was the gold medal favourite. But man, that final, man, you just gunned it from the start. No one even challenged you. Was that like almost a perfect race for you, the final?
Yeah, I mean, I guess any race that you win's a perfect race. But and this crazy sport it is. But I mean, when I look back, I actually let go of my paddle when I landed off the ramp.
Oh wow!
Which I didn't even realise when I was in the race. But when I look back and watched the slow-mo, my second stroke, so I landed on the right stroke, and then my left stroke went in the water and came up underneath the guys beside me, his boat, and so my hand came off, and then I did a right stroke and then grabbed it again. So I think that was just like the zone I was in and how much intent that I wanted to hit it with. I just was zoned into just going. And yeah, I mean, the two beside me, Joe, who was probably the favourite, and then the German guy, Noah, just clashed paddles a little bit, and then that gave me a bit of free water, and I could just build a lead from there. And from there, I could back my technique and my fitness as well. So, we've done almost 10 days of racing until that day. And but I knew that I was in really good shape, and I've got a good fitness base behind me. So, basically going to the finish, I knew that if I could just hold enough of a gap in front of Joe and get around that last upstream before him, it would be all mine. But, yeah, if I think about it, it's quite funny because, going into the last upstream, I know I'm leading the Olympic Games, and if I execute that, then I'll be the Olympic champion. And it's sort of like all of those things are just trying to pull yourself out of the moment. And I'm really proud of the way that I could really focus and stay in the moment and actually execute that. And then afterwards, let myself realise. Because it's pretty easy to lose track of focus and just for a split second, and then things can go wrong pretty fast. So yeah, I say it was a perfect race.
Indeed. How much did your life change after Paris?
Pretty significantly.
I saw you everywhere, man. You're at All Blacks Test. You're everywhere. People recognising you. It must have been quite different when you got home, was it?
Yeah, it was pretty different. We're pretty unknown in general, and then sort of having people recognise me down the street in the coffee shop, or getting invited into the All Blacks changing rooms, and it was pretty wild. It's been it's been awesome, to be fair. Like, I'm just super lucky to have found a passion in my life that I can, I was able to do on the big stage. And, like, the coolest thing is when people come up to you and just say, look, we loved watching you. It was an awesome sport, and, we're really, really proud of you. And, people say, that I gave a lot of joy to a lot of Kiwis, and, man, that means a lot for sure. So, it's been busy. I'm back into training now. We're back on track to go again for another 4 years.
That's good to hear. How many people do you reckon have seen or touched your gold medal? Hundreds.
Yeah, hundreds, that's for sure. I mean, I went, when I came back straight after the Olympics, I went back down south to Alexandria and went into my old schools and then a few of the other schools in town. And, all of those little kids having a hold of it and having a look, and just, man, it's something that I probably didn't realise would be as cool as it is. Just seeing, kids' eyes light up and seeing their dreams, just ticking away in their head. It's pretty amazing. So, man, to be able to bring that thing back home to Central Otago and show those kids that, someone in their position from their school, can dream big and go and do whatever they want. So, man, yeah, it was pretty cool. But definitely a few people have touched it and held it and put it on. But I'm pretty proud of it. So to be able to share it with people is really special.
So you should be, Finn. And one of the undoubted highlights of the year for sure. You gave us all a lot of pleasure in those few days in August, my friend, and you've earned every plaudit that you've got. Thanks for joining us today, mate. All the best for the next Olympic cycle. Roll on Los Angeles 2028, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. I'm happy now to be back into routine, and looking forward to the next 4 years of trying to get better and keep pushing things. So thank you very much for having me.
No, thank you for joining us, Finn. Really appreciate it. Finn Butcher there. Geez, just totally unaffected by it all, isn't he? Just the same bloke who headed off to Paris, but now with a gold medal and much more to come. What a pleasure to catch up with Finn to reflect on one of the great moments of our sporting year, his gold medal in the kayak cross at the Paris Olympic Games. 2:28, just updating you on some live sport. There's some Halliburton Johnston Shield cricket going on around the place. 3 matches in our women's 50-over competition at Bay Oval, Mount Maunganui. Auckland all out 194. Northern Districts will set off shortly in their chase for 195 to win that one. In Rangiora, Otago have made 247 for 7 from their 50 overs. Canterbury are underway, 7 without loss after 1 over there. And at the Basin Reserve, Wellington all out 132. The Central Hinds are 26 for 2 in the 12th over in reply to that, chasing 133 to beat Wellington there. When we come back, we'll flick our attention across to football. The All Whites are in an international window right now. Big win over Vanuatu Friday night in Hamilton, 8-1. They take on Samoa at Mount Smart tomorrow night. Michael Boxall is on the show with us right after this.
You be the TMO. Have your say on 0800 80 1080 Weekend Sport with Jason Pine and GJ Gardner-Holmes. New Zealand's most trusted home builder. News Talk ZB.
What are we? 2:32. The All Whites have secured their place in the semi-finals of Oceania World Cup qualifying.
Bell. Nice touch from Garbutt. Oh, yes, that's superb. And Sarpreet Singh has got on the scoreboard. What beautiful lead-up work from Matt Garbutt.
Yeah, that was one of New Zealand's 8 goals on Friday night. An 8-1 win over Vanuatu in Hamilton has confirmed their place in the semi-finals of Oceania World Cup qualifying. Tomorrow night they meet Samoa at Mount Smart in Auckland. All Whites defender Michael Boxall is with us on Weekend Sport. Michael, thanks for taking the time. I can't imagine there would have been too many grumbles after Friday night from the coaching staff during the debrief that you've had around that game, would there?
We'll debrief later today, but I think overall we're, a fairly professional job. Obviously, as a defender, not too happy to get a clean sheet, but I don't know, luck goes against you sometimes. But we're delighted with the the crowd that showed up in Hamilton, and we were happy we got to put on a bit of a show for them.
When you go into a game as overwhelming favourites, as you were and will again be tomorrow night, how do you go about keeping standards nice and high and not letting any complacency creep in?
I mean, for me, it's about not taking these games for granted. I think, my 10, 11, whatever it is, career, we haven't played a whole lot of games in New Zealand, so we can't just get complacent and let these kind of go by the wayside. So we know that, and as a group, we're trying to, we've got some quality players who are trying to inspire like the next generation of Kiwi footballers. So we can't show up and give anything but 100%. So I think we kind of showed that with the response to when they equalised. And I mean, when you see Garbs and Marco, and then Saprita come off the bench and kind of do their thing, and obviously Woodsy's he's just on top of his game right now. So to see him doing what he's doing in front of home fans is pretty awesome.
And not just attacking players, as you've outlined, but some good young defenders coming through as well. I know Nando Painik has been around for a while, but Finn Sermon, Tyler Bindon, how have you assessed their development?
Obviously it's a big gap between myself and them, so we've needed someone to back me up when I'm ready for a wheelchair. So obviously, Finn making a big step up to MLS, and I think Tyler's really coming on. I think obviously you see his footballing progress on the field, but I think off the field he's gonna be a big leader for us going forward.
Does the competition for places in the All Whites right now feel about as fierce as it ever has during your time in the national side?
It's got to be up there, I'd say. Obviously I've been on both sides of it, where I'm on the outside looking in and also kind of fighting to keep my place. And I think, I'm even at my age still having to stay as sharp as possible to make sure I genuinely earn my spot on the team. And as you mentioned, Finn, Tyler, Nando, just keeping everyone honest. And I think you can say that for almost every position on the field.
Well, you've touched on one of the hallmarks of your career, and that's been your ability to stay fit, to stay, athletic, to be as quick pretty much as you always have been. What's been behind that? What is the secret of your ability to seemingly not age at all?
Honestly, I think I just enjoy it. I just love playing the game. Love training. Still at this age, trying to improve every day, every off season. I probably, when my season ends, I probably take 1 or 2 days off and then straight into the gym. Obviously, we've got a really good sports scientist, Suns, who puts me through my paces. So I don't know. I still love the challenge. Obviously, we've got a goal in 19 months' time that I want to be a part of. So just doing all I can to make sure I'm not just there, but generally helping the group out.
And last month you signed a new deal with your MLS club, Minnesota United, for next year, another option for 2026. You've been there since, 2017, the club's all-time leading appearance maker. How do you reflect on your time at Minnesota United?
When we first moved there with my wife, we probably only planned it to be there for, 2 or 3 seasons. But as we've my daughter settled down, my son was born there, and it's a beautiful place to raise a family, and the football in the MLS has really grown over the last 5-6 years. So it's allowed me to grow as a person, as a player as well. So it feels a lot like home, and my family's really settled there, and obviously that league's come a long way and going to keep growing with the big names they're signing, and then obviously with the World Cup hitting there in 2026.
A lot of your All Whites football, Boxy's been alongside Chris Wood. You mentioned him briefly before. What have you made of his recent feats in the Premier League?
Everything before this, the last 2 seasons, I think he's been so underrated, and I think it's just amazing to see him get his due rewards and recognition. I think, I can't say enough about how much playing for the country means for him. He does not miss a single window, possibly at the detriment to his club career, flying halfway around the world for these World Cup qualifiers in Vanuatu last month. And he just loves playing for his country, loves getting back in New Zealand, and he's obviously doing a lot for football of this country, and it's cool to see that young players get to see him in the flesh.
And you've been around this team for a long time now. How special would it be for you to be part of a team that went to a World Cup?
Obviously when I think my kind of first memory of watching Nelly and Duncan and Simon Elliott out Mount Smart and probably the late 90s, and then obviously seeing what they did in the world stage in South Africa. And I think speaking with some of the younger players on this team right now and how many were inspired by that 2010 World Cup journey. So I think that if we could do something special and inspire the next generation of all whites and young footballers in New Zealand, then that would mean a lot for this whole group.
I bet. And when's this first goal of yours coming at international level? Tyler Bindon even got one the other night.
Mate, I don't know. I'm trying not to break Jeremy Brockie's record. I'd like to stay behind him on the. Just be one goal behind Brocky it's not too bad, with his record as a goal scorer. If I sit one goal behind Jeremy Brocky, I'm happy with that.
Love it, Boxy. All right, hey, well, thanks for joining us this afternoon, mate. Really appreciate your time. All the best against Samoa. Look forward to catching up perhaps when you arrive in Wellington in the new year.
Would love that. Great chatting with you, Piney. Take care, mate.
No, you take care too, Boxy. Thanks indeed. Michael Boxall there, veteran, all whites defender, one of the fittest guys in his mid to late 30s you'll ever see. Still mixing it with the youngsters, still a big part of this all-white squad. Played the 90 minutes the other night as they beat Vanuatu 8-1. Tomorrow night, Samoa at Mount Smart Stadium. Anyone in the Auckland area want to see the all-whites in a rare appearance on home soil in recent times, there's your opportunity. They are, as I mentioned before, now assured a place in the Oceania qualifiers for the next World Cup, the semi-finals. Now, they'll take place on Friday, the 21st of March next year at Sky Stadium in Wellington. If the All Whites win their semi-final, then on the Monday that follows, Monday the 24th of March at Eden Park in Auckland at 7 o'clock, they will play for a place at the next World Cup, the next FIFA World Cup, which will be in the United States, Mexico and Canada in 2026. Direct entry for the winner of Oceania, which has never been the case before. So the All Whites tantalisingly close now to a place at the next FIFA World Cup. 19-3, News Talk ZB. We'll flick our attention back to mop up the final bit of rugby chat when we come back.
It's more than just a game. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine and TJ Gardner-Holmes. New Zealand's most trusted home builder, News Talk ZB.
Good ball. Feeds. Now the All Blacks try to surge forward again. They've disrupted the scrum. It's been intercepted. Cam Roy goes away. How did he do that? Magician! Cam Roy got the try!
Yeah, I love it from Elliott Smith. How did he do that? Yeah, I've watched that a few times. I still can't quite work it out. He's gone to kind of strip the ball. Has Cam Roygaard, the number 8's kind of thrown a half a pass to find his halfback Dupont. Hasn't got there. Roygaard's grabbed the ball, run away and scored a try. How does he reflect on today's test at Stade de France, which took place on his 24th birthday? Well, Elliott Smith caught up with Cam Roygaard shortly after the final whistle.
Well, commiserations. Probably not the birthday present you're after, but how did you feel out there, and where do you think it was sort of won and lost for the All Blacks?
Yeah, I think we did a good job of creating opportunities. We had a lot of ball in the right areas of the field, but I guess we just weren't able to execute when we needed to, and probably weren't accurate enough. Probably forcing passes a little bit early, which probably kept them in the game, and they were able to scramble, or pounce off those opportunities. So, I think tough game. It was, when they had momentum, ball and play, it was pretty chaotic, and that's how they like to play. And they showed that when they got a couple of their tries, and like I said, we created a lot, but just weren't able to quite finish there.
It felt like when they got the momentum shortly after half time, they were determined not to let it slip. Did you feel that out there?
Yeah, definitely. We probably couldn't have had a worse start, to be honest, to that second half. They're a very passionate side, and that was probably the spark that they needed. If it was on the other side of it and we got some points early, or I guess played in that, in their half, we probably could have had an opportunity to put them away. And like I said, they're a passionate side, and getting their tails up like that, they're pretty hard to stop. And Ramos, he's a great kicker. Didn't miss one tonight. And, it was a great test match, awesome to be a part of. But just big game, small margins.
Talk us through that try. What were you seeing as Aldrich got the ball off the back of the scrum?
Yeah, I saw that we were putting their scrum under a lot of pressure. Our forward pack, set piece wise was awesome. So that scrum and line out as well, putting some real heat on them, and I was able to, get a hold of the 8, and I could tell they was looking for an offload, so I sort of let them try do it and managed to get in the way, and surprised myself a little bit, and there's a bit of fresh air there, and pretty pleased, I guess.
That is Cam Roygard speaking to Elliott Smith after the game. A couple of texts through before we move on. From Joe, this is exactly the type of game this morning all rugby fans want to see. A shame the All Blacks didn't get the win, but there's enough evidence to suggest that this team is going to be a very, very good one. I think midfield's still a work on, but our scrum is becoming a real weapon. Nearly a year under the belt for Razor, and with the blooding of new players, this makes for an exciting future. Roll on 2025. Couldn't agree more. And this from Aidan in Dunedin. I can see the Razor effect on this team, not on patterns or play, but on mindset. Look at the arrival of new players into the squad and their contribution. Look at the energy and effort of the more senior players. Look at the skill set development of those players. Look at the trust these lads are showing in their game plan and each other. This is a team that are playing for each other and for the jersey. This is a team wanting to get better. This is a team that are coming together well with many combinations emerging. When the lads got on the plane for the Northern Tour, Talkback expected 2 to 3 losses, an inability to score in the last 20 minutes, and an absent bench. Reality has far exceeded expectations. I'm excited, says Aidan, for what comes next. Aidan, thank you for sending that in. Well articulated indeed. Antoine Dupont, of course, was the victorious captain this morning, the French halfback. He answered a couple of press conference questions in English after the game as well.
But firstly, how does it feel to beat the All Blacks? And secondly, do you think you'll come to New Zealand to try and beat them again next year?
It's always special when you have the opportunity to play the All Black, especially in Paris, in the Stade de France, with this atmosphere. So it was a really great game for us, but a tough game. We did a lot of mistake in the first half, and the second part of the game was better for us. We play on their side, and we were able to score some tries. So yes, it's a great victory for us. And I'm not able to answer for the second question for the moment. Sorry.
Come down, Antoine. You know you want to come down here. Or maybe he doesn't. Wouldn't it be so good if they brought a full-strength side next year? All the talk has been that they're going to leave a whole bunch of players at home, but imagine that French side from this morning coming down here for, is it 3 tests next year? At least 2. Could be 3. Imagine that side coming down here next year. It'll be such a letdown, won't it, if it's a under-strength side? Given the fact that, that's 3 games, that's 3 spread out over 4 years, admittedly, but that's 3 test wins in a row for France over the All Blacks now. Surely they'd want to come down here and, try and repeat the dose down here. I don't know. I know there's more at play than what I'm saying, but it'd be great to see them down here. Email from Leon, Piney. I respect James McConey and his opinion, but on this rare occasion, I have to totally disagree with him on the topic of footy converts. If we're including players from both sides of the Tasman, it is not even close. Number 1 is undoubtedly Brad Thorne, who in league won NRL Premiership titles, State of Origin series and honours with the Kangaroos. In rugby union, NPC, Super Rugby, All Blacks and European honours as well. For me, Sonny Bill is a close second with NRL, Kiwi, Super Rugby and All Blacks glory too. Then there is daylight between them and the rest of the field. Very hard to disagree with my hot take, Jason, says Leon. Thanks, Leon. Yes, well, I tend to agree. I tend to agree that Brad Thorne seems to be the gold standard when it comes to players who have achieved success in both the 15 and 13-man games. I guess we wait to see what Joseph Suaalii can do moving forward for the Wallabies over the next few years with a Rugby World Cup and a Lions tour to put himself on the world stage. Rugby-wise, 9-3, News Talk ZB.
Breaking down the Hail Marys and the epic fails. Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, News Talk ZB.
Coming up 6 away from 3, I think that just about wraps up Weekend Sport for another Sunday and another weekend. I can't think of anything that we haven't done that we'd planned to do, and even if we had missed anything out, we've kind of run out of time because Tim Beveridge is banging on the studio door saying, come on, it's time for the Weekend Collective Sunday edition. So who am I to stand in the way of one of the true stars of News Talk ZB and Tim Beveridge? In you come, Tim. You can go on the radio after 3 o'clock. Thank you for listening in. Appreciate that you're someone with a busy life and that any time you spend with us, we greatly appreciate. Huge thanks to Andy McDonald, as always, for producing the show, answering all the phones, pulling together all the audio and the interviews. Thanks, mate. Have an excellent afternoon. We're back, by the way, tomorrow night between 7 and 8 on Sports Talk. I guess we could relitigate some of the rugby if that is what we choose to do. The All Whites play tomorrow night. There's other bits and pieces going on. If Wales happen to beat Australia tomorrow morning, maybe we can get some Welsh rugby on. I don't know. It's all just blue skying, really, and working in not absolutes. So I think we'll wait to see what happens over the next 24 hours or so before we come up with our lineup for Sports Talk tomorrow night. In terms of an exit song today, well, we were in Paris this morning, or the All Blacks were, for their test against the French. We saw some aerial shots, including the Eiffel Tower, of course. And it just made me think about the James Bond film, A View to a Kill, which was filmed on location in Paris, among other places. I can't remember where else that movie took us, but it certainly took us to Paris. Duran Duran had the soundtrack. So it's A View to a Kill taking us out today. Tim Beveridge after 3. Have a great afternoon. See you tomorrow.
A chance to find the phoenix for the flame. A chance to die. But can we dance into the fire? That fatal kiss is all we need. Dance into the fire. To fatal sounds of broken dreams. Dance into the fire. That fatal kiss is all we need. Dance into the fire. When all we see is the view to a kill.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.